Chapter 156. More and more immortal chi appeared. A moment later, the shape of a white platform could be seen. Lightning flashed in the middle. Just as the platform was about to take shape, the lightning suddenly became more violent and destroyed the platform that had taken so much effort to form. Huh! Bitao exclaimed. The lightning tribulation has increased. It looks like this person has brought something else with him. Was bringing something along with him. To immortal ascension, a standard practice in the Azure world. After the lightning faded, the scattered immortal chi began to gather again. After about 15 minutes, the immortal ascension stage finally took shape again. The lightning in the middle also disappeared. A beam of golden light of guidance shot into the sky from the center. It lit up half the sky. Not far away, the fiery red light from Loneland's heavenly tribulation complemented each other. In the next moment, a black figure flew out of the golden light of the immortal ascension stage, at an extremely fast speed, heading straight for them. Just as it was about to land on the ground, it seemed to be exhausted. With a loud thud, it fell from the sky and landed on the ground a dozen meters away. The light of guidance and the immortal ascension stage disappeared as soon as he appeared. Everyone then saw that the figure that had appeared was a ball of black paste. Moreover, it was the charred kind. Its entire body was black like charcoal, and its body was still emitting wisps of hot air. Instantly, the smell of roasted meat floated in the air. He seemed to have been struck too hard by the lightning tribulation. His entire body was curled up into a ball. His chest rose and fell violently. He took a few deep breaths and tried to stretch his limbs. He swayed as he tried to stand up. Everyone paused. After all, they were all people from the same realm. They exchanged a look and rushed forward to save him. Even Shening subconsciously followed the crowd over. Before she reached the other party's side, she suddenly heard a monotonous, extremely familiar voice. Ding! Big Boss has been discovered. Urgent mission. Please kneel down in front of Big Boss and express your loyalty. Instantly, the black figure, who had just stood up with much difficulty, knelt down in front of her in a prostrating manner. Shening. I Ching. Bitao. Everyone. Why did he suddenly know who this person was when he greeted him with such a big bow? F***CK. The black figure cursed. He rubbed his forehead and looked up. System, what the hell are you doing? Where is it this time? Holy shit. Shun. Shun. Was he dreaming? Why is this pervert here? Didn't he go missing? Hey. Shening raised her hand out of habit. Long time no see. What's his name again? Perfected Feng Ying. Yu Hong recognized the person in front of her. No. I should call you immortal friend Feng Ying now. Who would have thought that he would be the first person to ascend to the immortal world in the Azure world? Wasn't he a nascent soul cultivator when the invincible sect came to the upper world? How did you? Before Feng Ying could finish speaking, he suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. The already weak immortal chi in his body dissipated even faster. I Ching frowned and was about to step forward. Feng Ying. A woman's voice suddenly rang out. In an instant, a woman's shadow floated out from his body. Her back was facing everyone, and her words were filled with worry and self-blame. Why did you have to do this? I told you long ago this won't do. If you had listened to me and ignored me, wouldn't it have been better for you to ascend on your own? Little you. Feng Ying reached out and held the woman's hand. The corners of his mouth twitched, as if he wanted to smile at the woman in front of him. I'm fine. Aren't we up here now? How can you be fine? The woman became even more anxious. Tears welled up in her eyes. If not for the fact that you used all your immortal chi to protect my soul during the lightning tribulation just now, you wouldn't have. Didn't I tell you before? I have a secret treasure. The system. Feng Ying tried to persuade her again in a low voice. The blood at the corner of his mouth flowed down uncontrollably. The system won't let me die. It will definitely have a way. Before he could finish his sentence, the familiar sound of the notification rang out. Ding. Detected that the host's life force is too low. Strong mission. Host, please kneel on the ground with your palms under your head. With your body bent forward, crawl towards the big boss and shout the healing spell. Grandma, save me. P.S. Please use a volume of at least 200 decibels to repeat 3 times. Shening. Fonging. For all. Flips table. Who are you trying to bluff at a time like this? You stupid system. You just want to suck up to me. Do you have to go crazy every time you see Shening? Grandma can't save you. Shening replied seriously. Whose grandma are you? Believe it or not, I'll really beat you up. Chef you. Just as she was about to ask Chef to help take a look, the woman whose back was facing them suddenly trembled all over. She turned her head abruptly and looked at her in disbelief. Shen. Ing. Ha. She replied subconsciously. Only then did she realize that this girl looked a little familiar. Roasted chicken gal? Shening. It's really you. Her eyes reddened instantly. She glanced at the affectionate Fonging beside her. Then decisively, she flung his hand away with a smack, turned around and hugged Shening, who was behind her. That's great, you're alright. You're really alright. You scared me to death. I Ching. Fonging. Little bitch *2 Shening. What's going on? Because Fonging wanted to forcefully bring roasted chicken gal up, he had to endure double the lightning tribulation. Although he had the help of the system, he was still struck until he was charred on the outside and tender on the inside. Holding on to his last breath, he only managed to ascend the immortal ascension stage because he wanted to forcefully bring roasted chicken gal up. What's more, he gave most of his immortal chi to Chi-Ching-Yu during the lightning tribulation. That was why his injuries had not healed. As for why roasted chicken gal was with him, it was because of the sudden disappearance of Invincible Sect. In order to save Father Nyo, time was tight. What's more, the only person in charge, Lone Moon, was not awake. Thus, the master and disciple duo did not think to inform them. What's more, so many immortals descended to destroy the world. Everyone thought that the phenomenon of ascension was caused by those immortals. Even Rabbit did not know that they had ascended. The 4 aristocratic families searched for a long time, but could not find any traces of them. They could only give up. After that, only Chi-Ching-Yu and Fonging were left to investigate. After a while, the two of them saw eye to eye. Roasted chicken gal's cultivation was high. She was already a soul formation cultivator. But she was a fiendish cultivator after all. The lightning tribulation was already heavier than that of ordinary cultivators. Thus, she had been suppressing her cultivation. In the end, she could not suppress it any longer. In the end, she did not transcend the tribulation. When Bing Jie became a traveling immortal, something happened. When Fonging arrived, it was already too late. Her bones were completely destroyed. She was so badly injured that she could only appear in the form of a spirit body. Fonging had decided to ascend to the immortal world to find a way to save her. Oh yes. She suddenly remembered something. Little Hong, didn't you say that 2 things happened? What's the other thing? It's not a big deal. There are 2 people at the foot of the mountain asking to see Sect Master, Yu Hong replied. Oh, Shening did not mind. She continued to look at Bitao and Fonging, who were still recuperating. Hopefully they were alright. At the foot of the mountain, the little animal celestial emperor duo. They had been standing at the foot of the mountain for almost half a month. Why had the exalted goddess not summoned them? Was she angry? She definitely was. Just because she was late by 2 days. Sob sob sob. What should they do? They were doomed. The 2 of them were trembling. Chapter 157. It took Bitao 7 whole days to repair Fengying's meridians. His body, which had been charred black, finally regained some color and became much more alert. Bitao wiped the sweat from his forehead and walked out. The moment he stepped out of the door, he saw a few people in the yard. Although they said they were waiting, they had actually been eating for a few days. Weren't they supposed to be acquaintances? Why did it seem like he was the only one who was worried? Sect Master. Bitao sighed and stepped forward. I've already helped him repair his meridians, but the lightning tribulation has damaged his foundation. I can't help him recover with my current cultivation level. He needs to be nursed back to health. He was only a mystic immortal, and had just ascended. Only an exalted immortal would be able to repair his damaged foundation. Oh, thank you. Shening nodded, and took a bite of the fruit in her hand. Then, She turned to look at Feng Ying. The next moment, the familiar notification sounded again. Ding! Detected that the host's bodily functions have recovered by 88%. Mission: gratitude is a traditional virtue. Please thank the host for saving his life within 1 minute. Feng Ying stumbled and almost fell to his knees again. He steadied himself and cursed the system tens of thousands of times in his heart. He ignored the voice in his head. He turned to Bitao and cupped his fists. Thank you, fellow immortal Bitao, for your help. I will repay you in the future. Don't stand on ceremony, fellow immortal. Bitao hurriedly stopped. I'm just following the sect master's orders. Feng Ying turned and walked over quickly. He walked past Shining and held Qi Qingyu's hand. Looking at her affectionately, he said, Little Yu, did I scare you? I'm sorry to have made you worry, but I'm fine now. Qi Qingyu's hand paused. Actually, she was not that worried. After all, Shining had been found. As long as you're fine. Thank goodness we met Shining, otherwise She did not continue. She looked at Shining gratefully. Feng Ying reluctantly squeezed out 2 words. Thank you. You're welcome, baby. She did not do anything anyway. The corner of Feng Ying's mouth twitched. Who's the baby? Ding. Host baby reading data. Do you want to display? He hated this parenting system. Tower Master Feng. I Ching, who was at the side, stepped forward. Intentionally or unintentionally, he stood between Tower Master Feng and Shining. You're the crazy Tower Master. Your whole family are crazy Tower Masters. How many times have I said it? It's Tower Mastering. Let's talk about her. What are your plans? I Ching glanced at Qi Qingyu, who was beside him. He could not tell anything from her spirit body. Since Feng Ying had decided to bring her to the upper realm, it was impossible for her to remain a spiritual body forever. Feng Ying frowned and exchanged a glance with Qi Qingyu. Seeing her nod, he said, Back then, I let little Yu's spirit body leave her body because I wanted to save her. But for some reason, her spirit can't return to her body. He formed a hand seal, closed his eyes, and tapped on his forehead. Instantly a white light flashed. He waved his hand at the ground next to him, and a red figure lay on the ground. It was roasted chicken gal's body. Ding! Item has been successfully extracted from the system warehouse. That position was... You kept her body in your own consciousness. Bitao was shocked. He looked at Feng Ying, as if he were an idiot. The consciousness was an important place. It was like a second soul. Any strange aura that entered the consciousness would cause unbearable pain. No. Feng Ying shook his head and turned to look at Shining. But he did not explain. It was indeed not the consciousness. He was just living in the system, and using the spirit qi and the consciousness to nourish little Yu's body. Floaty, take a look at the situation? Shining urged, changing the subject. Oh. Bitao stepped forward and used his immortal qi to check. The more he looked, the deeper his frown became. He turned back to look at the worried Feng Ying and sighed. Her body, meridians, elixir field, and divine perception have all been destroyed by the lightning. Although it's troublesome, it's not impossible to repair it. She just needed to nourish her body. Feng Ying was overjoyed. Bitao continued. As for why her spirit body can't return to her body, I can't tell. As soon as he finished speaking, Feng Ying and roasted chicken gal's expressions darkened. So even the immortal realm couldn't do anything? Of course, it could also be because my cultivation level is too low, Bitao added. The two of them still did not look any better. Why don't we wait for Father Nio to come and take a look? Shining suggested. Chef's injuries could not be healed. Father Nio might have a way. Nio. Feng Ying stared blankly for a moment before realizing who she was talking about. He was elated. Compared to the infuriating Shining, he obviously had a better impression of his former partner. Brother Lone Moon has also ascended to the upper world. What about me? As they spoke, Lone Moon, who had just finished his tribulation, walked in. He seemed to be in a good mood. Hey, Father Nio. Shining waved her hand. She had just used up all her immortal stones. She was just about to greet him when Feng Ying walked over. Brother Nio, you're finally here. Who's your brother Nio? Lone Moon frowned. He scanned the person in front of him, who smelled burnt. Only then did he recognize him. Tower Mastering, you've ascended? The strange immortal chi that Lone Moon felt when he was undergoing the tribulation was him. He turned and glared at Shining. His expression said, "You're freaking picking people up to eat your rice again. And they're all poor." Feng did not sense his disdain at all. He looked like he had found a friend. No, brother Lone Moon, please save little you." "What little you?" Lone Moon turned and saw Chichinyu beside him. "Holy shit. Keep glaring at a certain foodie. You've picked up two at once. I've decided. I'll deduct your food allowance." Fellow Immortal Bitao said that your cultivation level is the highest. Only you can save her now. With that said, he was about to kneel down. He liked to hear that. Tower Mastering, don't stand on ceremony. Lone Moon held him up. "Tell me what's going on first. On account of your good bootlicking. Although I'm indeed the highest cultivation level here, I have to know what's going on, right?" The injured I Ching. Feng Ying explained the situation again. Lone Moon checked roasted chicken gal on the ground. After a while, he shook his head and said, "There's nothing I can do." Feng Ying's face paled. "I don't know much about spirit bodies. I've never seen her in this state before." Lone Moon thought for a while. After a while he said, "But I heard that there's an immortal herb called dried half moon. It can nourish spirit bodies. It might be useful." "Really?" Feng Ying was overjoyed. He was about to ask where the immortal herb was. "Dried half moon," Bitao suddenly exclaimed. "That's a supreme grade immortal herb. It only grows in the heavens beyond heaven. That's the territory of the 10 celestial emperors. Ordinary immortals can't see this kind of immortal herb. What's more, things that were beneficial to spirit bodies were also beneficial to divine perception. This kind of immortal herb was a treasure." Chapter 158. Forget it. Chichinyu stepped forward and said, "Life and death are decreed by fate. Feng Ying, you don't have to do this for me." "No." Feng Ying became more and more anxious. He came to the upper realm to save her. How could he give up at a time like this? "Brother Lone Moon, do you have a way to enter the heavens beyond heaven? I'm willing to pay any price." In all his years of cultivation, this was the first time he had met a girl who caught his eye. Lone Moon sighed. "Tower Mastering, it's not that I don't want to help you. It's just that we haven't been in the upper realm for a long time. And we've never been to the outland, so we don't know anyone." "So, I know him," Shining suddenly said. Everyone was stunned for a few seconds before they turned their heads in unison and looked at her in shock. Especially Feng Ying, who had been extremely unwilling just now, but now knelt down in front of her without hesitation. "Shining, I know you're a good person. Please save little you. I'll do anything you want me to do, even if you want my life." She didn't say that she wasn't going to save him. Instinctively, she shifted to the side. "It's not that I'm not going to save him." Was the parenting system the one who taught her to bow so often? However, Feng Ying thought that she was unwilling and instantly panicked. After thinking for a moment, he suddenly asked tentatively, "Grandma?" "Chichinyu." "Everyone." "Shining." Motherf asterisk Kerr. Cough. "Tower Master Shadow, don't be anxious." He looked at Shining and asked, "When did you get to know people from the heavens beyond heaven?" "When I sleepwalk," Shining said. "Didn't I tell you before? The two animals that wanted to kidnap Shorty were from the sky beyond heaven. They were also the ones who helped to send her over." "Little Dong, you met a demon immortal?" Lone Moon was stunned. He had thought that the little animal she was talking about was a spirit beast. So it was a demon immortal. They were from the sky beyond heaven. "Why didn't you tell me earlier? Where are they now?" "I don't know." That was why he didn't agree to the baby immediately. Lone Moon rolled his eyes. What an unreliable person. He was thinking about how to contact them. Yu Hong, who had been standing at the side, suddenly said, "Sect Master, are you talking about two men? One in green and the other in black?" "Yes. How did you know?" "Yu Hong, have you seen him before?" Lone Moon asked anxiously. "Yes, I have." Yu Hong's expression became even more strange. "They are the people who have been waiting at the foot of the mountain to see the sect master. I've been standing for more than half a month." Almost as soon as the mountain gate opened, two figures flew directly towards the rear hall. In an instant, Two figures appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Just as Yu Hong said, one was green and the other black. Immortals. Lone Moon stepped forward to greet them out of habit, but he was pushed back by the immortal chi that the two of them could not retract in time. His eyes widened. Holy shit! What the hell was this frighteningly high immortal chi? What level of cultivation did this demon immortal have? I Ching? He subconsciously tugged at the person beside him, who was more sensitive to auras. I Ching frowned and replied, Celestial Emperor. What? Shit. F*CK that little animal. What exactly did Shening do when she was sleepwalking? Greetings, exalted goddess. Too unexpectedly, the two of them bowed in Shen Ying's direction. They were so well behaved that they did not even dare to let their hair move. Hey, long time no see. Shen Ying waved at the two of them out of habit and pointed to the empty seat opposite her. Come and sit. The two of them were shocked and immediately shook their heads resolutely. No, no, no. I don't dare. We'll just stand. Yes, yes, yes. It's good to stand. We like to stand. What a joke. They specially came to ask for forgiveness. How would they dare to sit? They were punished to stand at the foot of the mountain for half a month, before the exalted goddess's anger subsided a little. Now that they were asked to sit, could it be? The two of them subconsciously glanced at the table in front of Shening. They saw that it was filled with all kinds of meat. The two of them immediately trembled even more. Was this a show of strength? If they did not do well, she would make them into dishes or something. This was definitely what she meant. So scary, all right. Seeing that the two of them were unwilling, Shening did not force them. She continued, that little shorty has worked hard. Indeed, she did not forget about this. Fortunately, they did not sit. The two of them took a deep breath. After half a month of mental preparation, they finally plucked up the courage to explain. Exalted, exalted, exalted goddess, please forgive us. It's really the immortal world is too big. We spent 4 days to find the location of Chu Shuang City, and another day to find this place. That's why we were late. Oh, it's fine. Shening pointed to the side. I'm looking for you for something else. Come over and help me check on roasted chicken gal. Roasted chicken. The two of them shivered reflexively. They then saw a person lying on the ground. She looked exactly like the shadow beside the exalted goddess. Yes, the two of them immediately went over and held up one of her hands to examine her. The more they looked, the paler their faces became. This person's body had obviously been burned. Then they thought about how the exalted goddess called her roasted chicken gal. The two of them exchanged a look. Instantly, the same terrifying thought flashed through their minds. Was this person really roasted? Could it be that when the exalted goddess ate, she even ate human cultivators? They were trembling so much that they could barely hold on to their hands. How is it? Can she be saved? Shening suddenly asked. The two of them were so shocked that they almost jumped up. Luckily, their mental fortitude from the past 2 weeks was working. They swallowed a few times before they managed to suppress the scream that was about to come out of their mouths. Blackbird sucked in a deep breath. He stepped forward and answered. Exalted, exalted goddess, this person's body was burnt damaged. It's easy to recover. A 10th grade immortal pill will do. However, the vitality in her body has already been severed. If we want her spirit body to return, we need to reconstruct it. No matter why the exalted goddess changed her mind to save roasted chicken gal, they had to pretend that they didn't know. They didn't know at all. Oh, so that was the reason why roasted chicken gal couldn't return to her body. Continue. In the past, I had Half Moon Dry in Phoenix Cry Palace. It could help her spirit body return, but Phoenix Cry Palace had already been destroyed by Biaoting. They didn't know if they could find it. Biaoting trembled and immediately raised his hand. I have it. I have Half Moon Dry. It can definitely help her recover. Damn it. Didn't they say that they were brothers in hardship? How dare they trick him? Oh, then I'll have to trouble you. Shening heaved a sigh of relief. It was finally settled. Exalted divine guest, you're too kind. This is what we should do. Biaoting wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and heaved a sigh of relief. He suddenly thought of something and said, Half moon dry has to be consumed within half an hour. Otherwise, it will lose its effect. This, fairy, if you want to recover, please come with me to the heavens beyond heaven. Thank you, fellow immortals. Feng Ying was overjoyed. He didn't think that this matter would be resolved so easily. It was like a dream. Roasted Chicken Gal immediately stepped forward to thank them. Then she turned around and said, Shining, thank you. You've saved me once again. It's nothing. She didn't do anything. Suddenly she remembered something. She looked at the two of them and said, Oh yes, you two seem to be quite good at treating illnesses. Take a look at him too. She pointed at I Ching. Yes. The two of them immediately stepped forward and took a closer look at the immortal qi on I Ching's body. He was faintly emitting the aura of an emperor. It wasn't weak either. It was just that he hadn't been to the emperor ascension stage yet. The two of them were shocked. They asked, Fellow immortal you are. Oh, he's my chef, Shening answered subconsciously. As soon as she finished speaking, there was a loud thud. The two of them felt their legs turn to jelly. They fell to their knees. Chef, chef, chef. She had even prepared a chef for them. What happened to forgiving them? Chapter 159. Compared to Roasted Chicken Gal, I Ching's injuries were much better. He just needed to rest. Perhaps he could go directly to the Emperor Ascension stage and raise his cultivation level to that of a young emperor. His injuries could also be healed by the rich immortal qi during the ascension. Coincidentally, the Emperor Ascension stage was also in the heavens beyond heaven, but in two different directions. The few of them decided to split up. Shen Ying and the others would go to the Emperor Ascension stage. Roasted Chicken Gal and Feng Ying would follow the two emperors to retrieve the dry half-moon to heal their injuries. The moment they flew out of the invincible sect, the two of them heaved a long sigh of relief. Great, they were still alive. After worrying for half a month, they could finally rest easy. Luckily they were useful. Otherwise, they might have appeared on the exalted god's table. The two beasties rejoiced, and even looked at Feng Ying and Qi Qingyu with friendlier eyes. Not only did they take out their top-grade immortal weapons to invite the two of them up, they even introduced the situation of the heavens beyond heaven to them. Fellow immortals, are you tired? Do you want to rest? The journey to the heavens beyond heaven will take close to 2 days. The journey is long, there's no rush. Yes, yes. Miss Qi is still a spirit body. It's inconvenient for you to travel. I have a soul-calming pearl here. It can nourish your qi and calm your nerves. It's perfect for you. That's right. Fellow immortal Ying has not recovered from his injuries. I have a bottle of supreme-grade immortal pills here. Fellow immortal, take one to heal your injuries. You can eat the rest for fun. Feng Ying. Qi Qingyu. Thank you, celestial emperors. Seeing that the two of them were holding up the things in their hands, as if they would not give up until they accepted them, the two of them had no choice but to accept it and thank them sincerely. Feng Ying. Qi Qingyu tugged at Feng Ying subconsciously. Looking at the two of them, she could not help but send a voice transmission. These two are really celestial emperors. The most powerful people in the immortal realm? Yes, I guess. Feng Ying was uncertain. Were the immortals in the immortal realm all so hospitable? Seeing that the two of them were about to give them more, he hurriedly reminded them. Thank you for your hard work, celestial emperors. But it's getting late. We should hurry. What's more, we promised Shining that we would meet back at Invincible Sect in 10 days at most. So, before he could finish his sentence, the two of them suddenly trembled and stood up straight. Their relaxed expressions changed, and their faces turned pale. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Let's hurry to the sky beyond heaven. We have to rush back today. They almost forgot about their proper business. In an instant, the entire magic tool whizzed forward at a speed 10 times faster than before. Qi Qingyu almost lost her balance. Feng Ying, who seemed to have recalled something. Had they disturbed Shen Ying's sleep? The other side. The master and disciple looked at the person in front of them silently. What are you looking at? Lone Moon glared back. The heaven beyond heaven belongs to you. Can't I go there? That's not it. Shening scratched her head. I just thought you would be in the same group as Feng Ying and the others. I Ching. +1. based on Father Nyo's money-grubbing nature. How could he let go of 2 big clients just like that and follow them to the Emperor Ascension stage? That didn't make sense. Why should I be in the same group as them? Lone Moon rolled his eyes. They weren't that close anyway. You two with the surname. You won't feel comfortable if you don't cause trouble. How can I not keep an eye on you? He didn't want to receive news that they destroyed this place today and destroyed that place tomorrow. What's more, looking at the attitude of the 2 celestial emperors, Lone Moon and Biao Ting, it wasn't like they couldn't interact anymore. If they wanted to do business, they could do so anytime. What's more, he had already instructed Feng Ying to collect information. With the system, they could scan any mushroom growing within a 500-kilometer radius. Once they had concrete data, they would know their enemy and scam. Pooey, they would be able to get twice the results with half the effort when doing business. Hurry. Isn't the Emperor Ascension stage very far? Lone Moon urged. We agreed to settle it within 10 days. What about other business we have to do when we get back? Don't dawdle, you two. Shening. I Ching. Poor people like us really don't understand the world of the rich. Although Father Nyo rushed them along the way, it still took the 3 of them 5 days to reach the Emperor Ascension stage in the heavens beyond heaven. Actually, the so-called heavens beyond heaven was similar to the Yufeng immortal abode. It was a place connected to the immortal realm, yet isolated from it. It was just that the Yufeng immortal abode was at the edge of the immortal realm, while the heavens beyond heaven was in the center of the immortal realm, above the 9 heavens. If they wanted to go up, they had to go through the 9 palace gates. Every level was guarded by immortals from different continents. Only those with the tokens of the celestial emperors could go through the palace gates. But the Emperor Ascension stage was different. It was at the edge of the heavens beyond heaven. One could go there directly, without going through the 9 palace gates. The 3 of them flew straight up. For a few days, they were surrounded by white immortal fog. Finally, they could see the tall stage in the distance. The stage was very wide. It looked like a martial arts arena in a sect. There were no special buildings around it. It was just a lonely stage floating in the 9 heavens. Even from afar, they could feel the suppressive force of heaven and earth emanating from it. Lone Moon paused unsteadily. He took a deep breath and continued flying. The moment they landed, a white figure appeared in front of them. Greetings, fellow immortals. It was a white-haired old man dressed in white. He smiled warmly as he looked at I Ching. His eyes lit up, and then he bowed again. Young Emperor. There were 3 stages of Emperor Ascension in the immortal realm. Those who became young emperors were called young emperors. Those who became immortal emperors were called exalted emperors. Only celestial emperors were called celestial emperors. He had been on the Emperor Ascension stage for many years. Naturally, he could tell at a glance that I Ching, who was on the right, was the one who had come to ascend to young emperor. Congratulations, young emperor, on your cultivation level. He smiled even more warmly. Without further ado, he stepped to the side and said, I am the immortal guarding the Emperor Ascension stage. The celestial emperors ordered me to be here to answer the questions of the newly ascended immortal emperors. Fellow immortals, please follow me. He led them all the way to the Emperor Ascension stage. Then he pointed to the center and looked at I Ching. Young Emperor, please stand on the heavenly stone in the center. Heavenly light will appear. Young Emperor only needs to guide the immortal Qi in, and stay there for a quarter of an hour. Thank you, fellow immortal. I Ching nodded and walked towards the center. Shen Ying and Lone Moon subconsciously took a step forward, but the immortal guarding the stage stopped them. Fellow immortals, please wait. Only those who have ascended to the Emperor Ascension stage can enter. Oh! The 2 of them retreated and looked worriedly at the person standing in the center. After all, he was still injured. Fellow immortals, don't worry. As if reading their minds, the immortal guarding the stage said, Young Emperor will be fine. Ascending to the Emperor Ascension stage is different from tribulation transcendence. There will only be heavenly light, which is very beneficial to one's cultivation. There will not be any danger. There won't be a heavenly tribulation? Lone Moon paused. He thought that the immortal guarding the stage was afraid that they would be implicated by the heavenly tribulation. Exalted immortal, you must be joking. He chuckled. Ascending to the Emperor Ascension stage is a good thing. Why would there be a heavenly tribulation? This Emperor Ascension stage is a reward from the heavens for cultivators. However, if he becomes an immortal emperor or a celestial emperor in the future, there will still be a heavenly tribulation. He just won't have to come to the Emperor Ascension stage anymore. I see. Lomu nodded. He did not think much of it, and continued looking at I Ching. Chapter 160. I Ching had already sat down cross-legged, ready to enter meditation. The moment he closed his eyes, a huge burst of immortal chi erupted from his body. The wind and clouds around him surged. A blinding ray of heavenly light descended from the sky and landed on him. The immortal chi became thicker, and the suppressive force in the sky forced him to take a step back. The immortal guarding the platform seemed to be used to this kind of scene. He did not know what triggered him, but an array appeared around the three of them, protecting them within it. The immortal chi on the platform became thicker. Under the golden light, I Ching's aura was increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lone Moon subconsciously sensed that this kind of light was similar to the light of guidance he saw when he ascended. Only this time it was thicker and bigger. The suppressive force in the sky was even more shocking. Even within the array, they could not help but feel their hearts tremble. The immortal guarding the platform was right. This Emperor Ascension stage was really a benefit for those who ascended to become an emperor. Not only would there be no heavenly tribulations, but one could also directly increase one's cultivation level. But one's cultivation level had to be high enough to withstand this kind of suppressive force. At least he could not do it now. This bunch of cheats. What's that? Shenning suddenly looked up at the sky. What? Lone Moon subconsciously looked up. He did not know when, but a few colorful clouds had appeared in the sky. As they moved, he could vaguely see something flashing. Lightning tribulation? Didn't they say there was no lightning tribulation? That's the Emperor Seal lightning. The immortal guarding the platform explained. It's all right. Everyone will appear when they ascend to become an emperor. Once the lightning seal is activated, the emperor's position will be formed. Just as he finished speaking, there was a crisp crackling sound. Indeed, an ordinary white lightning bolt struck down, right between I Ching's eyebrows. I Ching did not react. Instead, a red seal slowly appeared on his forehead. It was a simple vertical line. She frowned and continued looking up at a certain spot in the sky. This lightning. The Emperor Seal is formed. The immortal guarding the platform exclaimed. Indeed, in the next moment, the immortal chi around I Ching dissipated. The heavenly light around him also slowly dissipated. Congratulations on becoming an emperor, young emperor. The immortal guarding the platform immediately bowed. Lone Moon snorted coldly and said to the person walking towards him, I'll let you take the lead for now. I'll catch up. Shenning you. Shenning? Shenning. Realizing that Shenning was still looking up at something, he quickly pushed her away. What's wrong? Are you stupid? What are you looking at? Oh, I'm fine. Shenning snapped out of her trance and looked at the person who was walking over. Chef, how was it? Master. I Ching's eyes lit up. Indeed, Master cared about him the most. My injuries are completely healed. Also, the immortal energy in my body is more abundant than ever before. This was the first time he had such a strong feeling, and he clearly knew that his cultivation base had increased by so much. What about sword chi? Shenning suddenly asked. Sword chi. I Ching paused, as if he had just remembered this. He hurriedly sensed the sword chi, and was instantly stunned. It seems like it's the same as before. There didn't seem to be any difference. Oh. Shenning narrowed her eyes, and did not continue asking. She turned to Lone Moon and said, Father Nyo, can we go back now? I'm so hungry. You only know how to eat all day, eat until you die. Lone Moon glared at her resentfully, but still turned to bid farewell to the immortal guarding the platform. Let's go, chef. Shenning immediately urged I Ching to fly on his sword. Yes, master, no problem, master. Only then did the three of them fly back. Invincible sect. Shenning and the others had just stepped into the rear hall when they bumped into Roasted Chicken Gal and Feng Ying. The two of them had returned a day earlier than them. Chi Chingyu's injuries had also completely healed, and she was no longer that phantom. She was already good-looking, and now her red clothes were especially eye-catching. Feng Ying, who was standing beside her, looked like an infatuated man. Shening. The moment she saw her, Chi Chinyu immediately rushed over and hugged her. Her worried words popped out like firecrackers. Why did you only come back now? I thought something happened to you guys. You were already planning to go out to look for people. How was it? Did anything happen on the way? Were you injured? Did anyone bully you? I'll help you beat him up. Feng Ying. I Ching. Both of their faces darkened at the same time. They looked as if they were resisting the urge to rush up and pull the two of them apart. Little b asterisk th asterisk 2-inch air. I'm fine. Shening struggled to pull her hand away. She had never felt that roasted chicken gal was so warm before. Tower mastering. Lonman's eyes brightened as he looked directly at Feng Ying. You've had a tough journey. Did you gain anything from this trip? Hurry up and exchange information. Let's see what we can scam from the heavens beyond heaven. As he spoke, he pulled Shening towards the stone table at the side. Brother Lone Moon, just call me Feng Ying. Feng Ying glanced at Chi Chinyu again. He realized that she was only concerned about Xin Ying's well-being, and did not even look at him. He then walked over with a belly full of resentment. Little you doesn't love me anymore, sad. Thank goodness you're fine. Chi Chinyu continued to pull Shening. She looked at her from head to toe, exuding the radiance of an old mother. You must be tired from the journey, right? Do you want to rest? Oh yes, why are you always wearing this gray robe? I know array talisman techniques and my body is better now. Do you want me to add a few more Dharma robes for you? Inner clothes, outer robes, lower garments even. She smiled and lowered her voice. Dudu is fine too. What color do you like? Why did he feel like he was being stared at by a strange auntie? No need. Shening frowned, and immediately changed the topic. Well, I'm very hungry. Let's go back to the rear hall to cook. She seemed to have just remembered this matter. She hurriedly turned around and pushed the door open. All right, let's go in. Just as she was about to push the door open, there was a sudden gurgling sound from inside. Be careful. I Ching, who had been standing by the side, was shocked. He immediately hugged Shening and took a few steps back. Master, are you all right? I'm fine. Shening looked forward and saw a pile of long and round things rushing out of the door. They scattered all over the ground. Chi Chinyu did not react in time, and was almost buried in them. Little you. Feng Ying flew over in a flash. He wanted to help roasted chicken gal, who was about to fall, but he suddenly stepped on something. He stumbled and fell with a thud. What kind of hidden weapon is this? He climbed out of the pile of round things with a confused look. He grabbed one and looked at it. It looked a little familiar. This is potato. How could there be such mortal things in the immortal realm? No wonder it was a potato spirit immortal. The few of them went forward to take a look. Only then did they realize that there were not just potatoes scattered all over the ground. There were also sweet potatoes, radishes, spirit herbs, garlic balls, and all kinds of other dishes. Not only that, the house was filled with them. Shening suddenly had a bad feeling. She turned to look at I Ching beside her. Chef, these can't be. You planted them, right? I Ching's expression darkened. His figure flashed and disappeared from the rear hall. In less than 3 breaths, he flew back again. His expression darkened even more. He nodded at her. Yes, these were the things he had planted. He had originally planned to use them as a side dish for Master when he cooked. How many did you pluck? Not a single stalk. Shening glanced at the 3 particularly eye-catching dandelions on the windowsill. Suddenly, she understood who had moved these things over. Chapter 161. Shorty had been at Invincible Sect for more than a month now. Other than being unlucky and often suffering from external injuries, everything else was fine. The only thing that could not be changed was that she persisted in stuffing offerings to Lone Moon for her 3 meals a day. She didn't know where she got them from. Sometimes it was a small bag of pastries, sometimes it was a small bag of snacks, and sometimes it was a variety of immortal fruits. Anyway, every morning, She could see these things neatly placed on the windowsill. And no matter how much she expressed that she didn't need them, she didn't change her habit of giving offerings. Until one day, when she came in carrying a small wild flower that she didn't know where she got it from, Radish bumped into her. A certain vegetable immediately exploded. The two young people started fighting. Radish firmly defended its right to send flowers to Shining, refusing to let other flowers get close to Shining. He forced Shorty to exchange the small wild flower in her hand for his dandelion. He even said that if she wanted to send more in the future, she would have to exchange it with him. From then on, no other flowers appeared on her windowsill. Shining glanced at the 3 dandelions on the windowsill. When the wind blew, a string of smoke-like seeds floated up. The corner of her mouth twitched even more. This, after setting up the monument, she also offered 3 sticks of incense to herself. Straight face, Sect Master Elder Lone Moon, she's here. Yu Hong led Shorty in. After not seeing her for a few days, she seemed to have grown taller. She was almost at Yu Hong's shoulder now. Divine Immortal, you're back. The moment they entered the back hall, Xian Tong's eyes lit up. She was just about to run towards Shining when she remembered something. She imitated Yu Hong and bowed. Xian Tong greets Sect Master and 2 elders. Xian Tong, did you throw these things in the house? Lone Moon asked. Xian Tong blushed and nodded vigorously. Yes. Why? These are offerings for Divine Sect Master. Lone Moon felt a headache coming on. You're already a disciple of our sect. There's no need to specially give you offerings. And it's from your own land. That guy, I Ching, is already giving you a lot of face by not beating you up. But I promised the deities, she said with a serious expression. Big Sister Hong said that we have to be honest as humans. And it's even more so as immortals. You have to do what you promised. The deities had blessed her. She had said that she would give offerings every day, so she could not stop for even a day. Lone Moon. Yu Hong, who was shot. What's more? She frowned, looking aggrieved. She looked straight at Shining. I haven't seen a mortal for so many days. I thought she didn't want me anymore. Her voice deepened, but it returned to normal after a while. I knew that the deities would definitely come back, so I prepared food that can be stored for a very, very long time. It won't go bad. She had spent a lot of effort to find it at the back of the mountain. She had dug it for a very, very long time. I Ching, the original owner of the food that wouldn't spoil. He wanted to throw her down the mountain +1. Did I do something wrong? Xian Tong looked at them blankly. Lone Moon's expression darkened. He really couldn't say the word wrong. He sighed. He didn't know what to do with this child who had good intentions, but did bad things. She was a child after all. He turned to Shining and said, Hey, you're a fan. Make your own decisions. I don't care anymore. She looked at the child who was looking at her with sparkling eyes. She hadn't eaten yet. Educating a child was so troublesome. Sighing, he got up and walked towards her. That, Shorty. Sect Master Immortal. Xian Tong straightened her back immediately. She was glowing like a fangirl. Ah, the deities were finally talking to her. Let me tell you a secret. She hesitated. Actually, it's not popular for us to give food to the deities. That's why these are useless. And they were vegetables used to accompany the dishes. Really? She was stunned. Her whole body was like a deflated balloon. Her eyes were misty, and she looked like she was about to cry. Then what do I have to do to be considered a deity? That's difficult. You won't be able to learn it in a short time. I'm not afraid. Sect Master, please teach me. I will do well. Good. Then, she turned and pointed to the inside of the house. With a serious face, she said, Let's plant these things back in their original places first. I'll go right away. Her face lit up, and she immediately bent down to pick up the vegetables on the floor. Lone Moon. Was she bluffing? She was obviously bluffing. She just wanted to empty the house, right? She didn't even let the child off. How shameless could she be? Come, I have a storage bag here. It's more convenient to use it. Thank you, Sect Master. You're welcome. After you plant them, remember to come back and clean up the house. All the best. I have high hopes for you. Yes, Sect Master. No problem, Sect Master. Lone Moon. F asterisk king retard. Wait, Yu Hong, what's with that look? Don't learn anything and don't teach other disciples. Looking at the overjoyed Shening, who ran out to plant with the storage bag, Yu Hong seriously considered whether she should help the sect master plant a piece of land. After all, Xian Tong had just been praised. Envious sect master to elders. Regarding junior sister Xian Tong, I have something to report. Thinking of serious matters, she had to temporarily suppress her thoughts. Once she was done, she would occupy a piece of land in the back mountain. What is it? Lone Moon looked up. It's about her cultivation. Yu Hong said awkwardly. She was born with a weak body, and is not suitable for body cultivation. That's why she can't keep up with the cultivation methods of the sect. Previously, it was Jade Wave who taught her how to guide qi into her body. But he is a core cultivator after all, of the fire element. Junior sister also has a single water spirit root. She is not suitable to continue training with him. This was indeed a problem. Single water spirit root. Chi Qingyu exclaimed. She looked at Lone Moon and the others in shock. Could it be that she is also? Lone Moon was silent for a while before nodding. That's right. Chi Qingyu clenched her fists. She knew best what a purine body would be like. Although this was the immortal realm, and her life was not as miserable as hers, just this kind of body was good material for refining all kinds of immortal weapons and immortal pills. Let me teach her. She also had a purine body. No one knew more about cultivation than she did. Lone Moon shook his head. Putting aside the plot, he said, she has already guided qi into her body. After all, you are, your cultivation technique. Only then did he notice that she was surrounded by immortal qi, and not the yin qi of a fiendish cultivator. I cultivated fiendish cultivation for revenge. Chi Qingyu smiled. After arriving in the Upper Azure world, I dispersed my cultivation and recultivated. Now I am an immortal cultivator. So fast, Lone Moon still could not believe it. Not to mention the pain of dispersing one's cultivation and recultivating was unbearable for ordinary people. She also had to start from qi refinement. She had not seen her for only a few years. It's not that fast. I spent 500 years. It was also because she had to recultivate twice that she did not survive the lightning tribulation and became that spirit body. 500 years. Lone Moon was shocked. How is that possible? Wasn't it just a few? Wait, could it be that there was a time difference between the immortal realm and the mortal realm? How long did you recultivate before you came to the Upper Azure world? Chi Qingyu calculated. 200 years. She couldn't have been looking for them in the Lower Azure world for more than 700 years, could she? If that was the case, one day in the Upper Azure world was almost a year on Earth. He looked at her with admiration. You recultivated twice, and were able to ascend in just 200 years. You are very talented. That's right. I Ching nodded. She was indeed someone whom Master had helped. Ordinary cultivators who want to become soul formation would not be so fast. Chi Qingyu. Feng Ying. Why did it sound like sarcasm coming from the two of them? Chapter 162. Then it's settled. I don't have any disciples under me anyway, so I'll take this child as my disciple, Chi Qingyu said. No. Lone Moon unexpectedly objected. Why? It's not just because of the cultivation technique. Lone Moon frowned. Although the plot had already gone awry, it did not mean that it would not happen. He was still worried about handing it over to Chi Qingyu, who did not know anything about it, especially since that child seemed to have bad luck. She is a little special, not just because of her physique. You can teach her cultivation, but it's better not to take her as a disciple. Special? Chi Qingyu paused. What's special? Lone Moon was stumped. He could not possibly say that she was the female lead, and that she might cause him trouble. She has a demonic seed in her, Shining suddenly said. What? Everyone was shocked and turned to look at her. What? Lone Moon snatched the half-eaten fruit from her hand. What demonic seed? How did you know? I saw it. Shining tilted her head. Then why didn't you say so earlier? You didn't ask. Where's my knife? Doesn't she always have a lotus mark on her forehead? Shening changed to another fruit and continued nibbling. I thought you already knew. What does this have to do with the mark? He stopped mid-sentence, suddenly remembering something. His eyes widened. She can't be the mental demonic seed that was separated from Ning Zian's body back then, right? The baby girl did have a similar mark on her forehead. That's right. Holy shit. Right my ass. She actually did not mention such an important thing. Lone Moon wanted to smack this idiot to death, but after thinking about the plot that he knew, he felt that this was indeed the case. In the plot, the male lead originally cultivated the emotionless sword Dao, but he treated the female lead differently. Not only did he save her, but he also protected her and finally fell in love with her. At first, he thought that it was the female lead's halo, but after thinking about it carefully, he realized that the male lead was like this. It was very likely that they were originally one, which was why they were attracted to each other. And at that time, the male lead did not even know that he was Celestial Emperor Chang'e. Wait, he suddenly remembered something. She doesn't look like she has a demon seed in her heart. He had checked the child's bones and meridians. There was not a trace of demonic chi in her body, let alone a demonic seed. She looked like an ordinary child. At most, her aptitude was slightly better. Of course, it could also be due to her purine body. Oh, Shening seemed to recall something and added, your male lead melted a lotus flower into her body. Lotus? Lone Moon thought for a moment, then turned around in shock. Could it be the tranquil heart lotus? I think so. As soon as she said that, the expressions of everyone present became somewhat complicated. Yu Hong was especially conflicted. No wonder little junior sister's luck is like that. What's wrong? Cultivation illiterate Ing looked at Chef beside her. Is there a problem? Master. I Ching was silent for a moment before explaining to her in a low voice. Rumor has it that the tranquil heart lotus is a sacred object of the immortals. It can cleanse the spirit and calm the mind, wash away evil thoughts, and let people maintain a clear heart. That's why it's named the tranquil heart lotus. Everything in the world has a natural counter to each other. That's why it only appears in places with strong yin qi. It can purify yin qi. But, he paused. The demonic seed of the heart demon is the embodiment of evil Chong. This thing melted into her body like a huge poison. It can suppress the demonic qi, so that she can never have a demonic heart again. Of course, she can never become a demon again. She knew about this. And then, I Ching's frown deepened. Slowly, he said, she reincarnated in the lower realm, so she can indeed wash away the demonic qi in her body. If I'm not wrong, this is already her third reincarnation, so the demonic qi in her body has basically disappeared. But in all things there is sacrifice, there is gain. She used reincarnation to get rid of the demonic qi, so naturally she has to pay a price. And the price she paid was obviously her own fate. Huh? What did he mean? Master, there's a reason why her luck is so bad. She was paying for the tranquil heart lotus in her body, and the demonic qi that disappeared. And fate cannot be reversed. Even if she becomes an independent soul in her next life, she will continue to be this unlucky for the rest of her life. So she has to be unlucky to the extreme? After all, Ning Zian was afraid that the demonic seed would cause trouble. What's more, the tranquil heart lotus had already become one with Xiantong's soul. It could not be taken out again. Since that's the case, then we won't accept her. Feng suddenly said, Little you just need to guide her in her cultivation. Although he did not really understand, that did not stop him from grasping the main point of not accepting her as a disciple. They had gone through so much hardship to get to the good times. And little you had not even agreed to be his Tao companion. What disciple would be a hindrance? No, not a single one. But, Roasted Chicken Gal was still hesitant. The most unpredictable thing in the world is fate. We can't help. Before he could finish speaking, a familiar voice suddenly rang out. Ding! Item extracted successfully. Attribute Balancer. Wearing this item can balance all the attributes of the body, including fate. The next moment there was a clink. A blue crystal necklace appeared out of thin air and fell to the ground. Feng Shening. Everyone who was being translated by Shening. Flip's table. Can't you chase after your wife properly? The system was indeed a high-tech product. After Shorty put on the attribute balancer, the situation of falling half to death every 3 days and tearing down a house every 5 days was greatly improved. She even walked faster and fell less. It was not difficult for her to climb up the mountain in one go. It was just that this so-called balance was too complete. Once the luck increased, the other attributes would be pulled down. She originally had the best heavenly spirit root, and should have been able to cultivate at a fast pace. But after wearing the necklace, she was about the same as other cultivators with 3 or 4 spirit roots. Roasted Chicken Gal told Xiantong everything, and let her choose for herself. Xiantong still chose to wear the necklace. Although her cultivation speed was slower, she was in the immortal realm. Compared to the cultivators in the lower realm, her cultivation speed was much faster. Although Qi Qingyu did not officially accept her as a disciple, she treated her like a real disciple. Perhaps because they shared the same fate, apart from cultivating, Qi Qingyu spent all her time teaching Xiantong. Feng Ying was very dissatisfied with this. In order to assert his dominance, he would occasionally go over to show his presence, only to be beaten out by Qi Qingyu. Therefore, every day, the disciples could see a black figure being thrown out of the martial arts arena by someone. Invincible sect was shocked at first, then hesitated to stop the fight, and then they got used to it. Perhaps because of her childhood experiences, Xiantong was very hardworking. Although she was limited by the balance balancer, she was especially serious about cultivation, almost to the extent that she did not care whether it was day or night. In a short 4 years, she had already reached the late golden core stage, and was showing signs of forming a nascent soul. Although her cultivation level was the lowest among them, there were signs of immortal bones growing. In a few years, she would become a real immortal. She had also grown from a short girl to a pretty girl, who was even taller than Yu Hong. The only thing that did not change was that she had never stopped giving offerings to the sect master for 4 years. Shunning looked at the endless green seedlings and vegetable fields and sighed deeply. When would she be able to eat all of this? Would she become a vegetarian in the future? Suddenly, she felt that the future was full of despair. How about catching a few rabbits for Shorty to raise in a few days? Water more, water more. Radish waved its leaves to catch the water from Shen Ying's ladle. It said excitedly, "Little Missy, if you water me every day, I promise that the vegetables in this field will double." Double? Shen Ying's expression darkened. She kept the ladle and turned to leave. Who wants double the amount of vegetables? Radish was stunned. It immediately used its leaves to wrap around the corner of her clothes and pulled half of its body out of the soil. "Little Missy, don't go. Radish hasn't seen you for a long time." Humph. If not for the fact that its natural enemy had sealed it here to raise vegetables, it would not have wanted to plant it here. It only wanted to plant it in Little Missy's yard and bloom every day for her to see. It thought that Shunning would kick it away as usual, but the person in front of it suddenly stopped in her tracks and looked ahead thoughtfully. "Little Missy, what's wrong?" Radish climbed onto her leg. Shunning tilted her head. After a while she said, "Do you feel that the smog seems to have dispersed a little?" What buried?" Chapter 163. Shunning walked a few steps closer and looked in the direction of the demonic qi. She could vaguely see the shadows of withered branches in the black fog. She did not know if it was an illusion, but the fog really was much thinner. Could it be that there were more green plants in the sect recently, so the fog was effectively controlled? This was not a good sign. After all, these were Father Neo's tools for making money. It felt like they were scattering lots and lots of immortal stones. Just as she was hesitating about whether she should directly collect these green plants, the demonic qi in front of her suddenly began to surge, gathering crazily in a certain place below. "Little Missy, the demonic qi is disappearing." Radish, who was still hugging her leg, exclaimed, "How can this be?" Shening looked directly in the direction where the demonic qi was gathering. As if discovering something, she turned and jumped down. Among the demonic chi at the foot of the mountain, a man dressed in black was sitting cross-legged. He was even making hand seals and chanting something in a low voice. Instantly, large amounts of demonic chi seemed to be summoned towards him crazily, and were all absorbed into his body. As the demonic chi increased, black demonic scars began to appear on his handsome face. His originally clear eyes also began to slowly turn red. Lan Hua suppressed the excitement in his heart and did his best to absorb the demonic chi. He desperately cleansed the remaining half of his immortal bones in his body. He had destroyed his Tao and become a demon for many years, but still could not get rid of the last bit of kindness in his heart. He could not become a real sky fiend. He did not expect that there would be so much demonic chi hidden in such a remote corner of the immortal world. Even the heavens were really helping him. With this demonic chi, he could finally completely cleanse his immortal bones and become a sky fiend. He worked even harder to absorb the demonic chi around him. He could even feel the power in his body rising crazily. Violent killing emotions occupied all his emotions. His spirit platform was getting darker and darker. The last bit of light was about to be completely dyed black. As long as he had this demonic chi, he could definitely. Hey, big brother! Suddenly he felt a weight on his shoulder. Lan Hua, who was concentrating on absorbing the demonic chi, felt a pain in his chest. He was instantly stuck. Before he could react, a magnified face appeared in front of him. An unfamiliar woman suddenly squatted in front of him. She supported her head with one hand and looked at him expressionlessly. Are you absorbing the fog here? Ah. He did not react for a moment and nodded blankly. You're not an air purifier. She glanced at the demonic chi around her. It was much thinner now. Father Nyo was going to lose out on the clients he let in this time. Inhaling too much haze isn't good for your body. Huh. Lan Hua subconsciously let go of his hand that was forming the seal. He was stunned for 2 seconds before he came back to his senses. His eyes widened abruptly. No, why did he listen to her? Who are you? He didn't even notice that someone was nearby. My name is Shening. I live here. She pointed behind him. Live here? How could this be? The immortal realm had always avoided devil chi. So how could there be people living here? He subconsciously looked back, and indeed, he saw an immortal mountain behind him. He could faintly sense the aura of immortals coming from it, and there were quite a few of them. There really were people living in the demonic chi. Previously, when he saw so much demonic energy, he was too excited. Coupled with the dense demonic energy, he did not pay much attention to it. Unexpectedly, there really was an immortal mountain hidden within. Were these immortals crazy? He actually lived here. His heart sank, and killing intent surged in his eyes. His demonic cultivation had not been completed, and he had not completely eliminated his kindness. He must not expose his whereabouts now. Since you found out, then I can't keep. Suddenly, he formed a claw with his hand and reached for the other party's chest. He was about to go straight for her heart. Want to eat? Suddenly, she took out a fruit from somewhere and handed it over kindly. It just so happened that it landed in his claw. Lan Hua immediately stiffened. He looked at the fruit that suddenly appeared in his hand and did not come back to his senses for a long time. For me? Yes. She nodded, seeing that he was Father Nyo's client. Don't you like it? There's no more, this is the last one. With that said, she took out another one and crunched into it. Look at how hungry you are. You don't even let go of the haze. How pitiful. She sighed. Lan Hua looked at the fruit in his hand again. The immortal retaining fruit. Although it was not fully ripe, it had healing effects. There was no way she could not tell that he was a fiendish cultivator. Why would she do this to a fiendish immortal? All he felt was that the murderous thoughts that filled his mind just now suddenly quietened down. The faint light in his spirit platform that was almost invisible suddenly brightened. His demonic chi reversed, and his blood and meridians broke. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Not good. The remaining kindness in his Tao heart. Hey, what are you doing? Shening was shocked. She pulled up his shirt and wanted to help wipe it off. Don't suddenly spit out blood and scare me. Don't touch me. He pushed her hand away in a panic. The blood in his heart was even more chaotic. No, he could not suppress it anymore. You. He raised his head abruptly and glared at her with bloodshot eyes. He looked like he was going to eat her up. Why did you do this? He spent tens of thousands of years and finally suppressed the last bit of kindness in his heart. Yet it was directly awakened by a fruit from her. Ha! Shenning looked confused. What did I do? You did it on purpose, didn't you? He was so angry that his face was twisted. He glared at her. So what if you awaken my kindness? You're still going to die here today. With that said, the demonic chi on his body suddenly surged and formed a long black blade. He slashed at her without any care. Hey. Shenning looked confused. Why did he suddenly change his expression? She was just about to reach out to block. But he suddenly stopped 2 steps away from her. With a puff, he spat out another mouthful of blood. The demonic chi on his body dissipated. Even the long black blade disappeared. He lay on the ground and began to spit out mouthfuls of blood like a watering can. Lan Hua even had the urge to curse out loud. Damn! He actually could not move. Kindness was born because of her. She was his kindness. His body instinctively refused to hurt her, even if it hurt him. No, he had to kill her. Otherwise, he would never become a sky fiend. At the risk of breaking all his meridians, he once again materialized a black blade and slashed at the saber. No matter what you go. Before the word die left his mouth, just as the blade was about to land on her, his hand suddenly stiffened. It stopped in midair. Even the words that were about to come out of his mouth changed uncontrollably. Go sit on a rock. The demonic chi here is strong. You'll get sick. Ha! Then he kept the blade and used his sleeves to sweep the rock beside him. Wait! What was he doing? Lan Hua regained his composure. He immediately flared up and slashed at the blade for the 3rd time. I don't believe that I can't kill. I can't just stand there. I already said that the demonic chi is strong. Would it be better if I wore this supreme-grade Dharma artifact? Shenning. Why would he say something like that? So it was the 4th time. No one can stop me from becoming a demon. Why don't you have any immortal weapons on you? Take this. This is what I used when I was cultivating. The 5th time. I won't be bewitched by kindness. Do you want to eat the fruit? This immortal retaining fruit is too ordinary. It's useless. I have a treasure spirit fruit. I only get one every 10,000 years. It can increase your cultivation level. Do you want it? The 6th time. I also need immortal talismans and Dharma treasures. The 2 onlookers. Radish. Have you seen a lunatic before? Not in the past. Now I have. Shenning. Radish. Chapter 164. The man and the radish looked at a certain someone confused. One moment, he wanted to kill someone, and the next, he could not help but take out a bunch of things and force them into her hands. In less than half a minute, his black blade did not get within a meter of her. Instead, there was a pile of immortal weapons, Dharma treasures, immortal talismans, immortal pills, and all kinds of immortal fruits and immortal herbs. Shenning confirmed that this person was sick beyond belief, until he seemed to have nothing else to take out before he stopped this crazy behavior. He gave up and sat down beside a withered tree, his face full of despair. As a few withered leaves floated down from time to time, the entire scene turned into black and white. For some reason, Shenning felt a little guilty. That, Grandaunt, I beg you, don't come any closer. Lan Hua looked like he was about to cry. I've already given you the Dharma robe I'm wearing. There's nothing else I can give you? If she came any closer, he would have to take off his underwear. He never knew that his good heart was actually a wastrel. He was already halfway to immortal and demonic. He thought that this demonic chi would allow him to completely become a sky fiend. He did not expect this to happen. He was the only one in the world to cultivate to this extent. His heart hurt. Shenning frowned. She glanced at the pile of Dharma treasures around her, then looked at the demonic chi around her that was much thinner. Feeling even more guilty, she sighed and said, Do you have immortal stones? Lan Hua. Who was the demon here? The corner of Lan Hua's mouth twitched. Resigned to his fate, he stretched out his hand and formed a hand seal. Immediately, A bulging storage bag appeared in his hand. He tossed it over. Take it all. There was nothing left anyway. Thank you, boss. Shenning glanced at it and laughed. You may not know this, but this haze is Father Nyo's business. You can't just absorb it. You just absorbed so much, you naturally have to pay. Fortunately, it was him here. If it was Father Nyo, she glanced at the man who was stripped down to his underwear. She was still kind. As for the pants, did he pay enough? Shenning picked up the Dharma robe that he had just taken off and threw it over. There's no need for this. Put it on. Don't catch a cold. Lanhua took it, and immediately felt a warm feeling in his heart. A familiar feeling assaulted him, and he immediately had the urge to take off his underwear and give it to her. He gritted his teeth and suppressed this shameful thought. This damn kindness. He took a deep breath and put his clothes back on. He looked at the woman in front of him and cautiously took a step back, maintaining a safe distance so that he wouldn't be affected by kindness again. Hey, what are you? Just as he was about to ask what was going on, he felt several immortal auras coming his way. One of them was especially strong. This immortal aura belonged to the young emperor. His expression changed immediately. He did not expect that there would be an immortal with young emperor cultivation in such a remote place. He had been too careless. In his current situation, it was not suitable for him to clash with them. He turned around and glared at the people buried in the various immortal artifacts and Dharma treasures, warning in a deep voice. Hey, if you don't want to die, don't tell anyone that you've seen me. He couldn't help but add, of course I won't hurt you. F***ck. Once he finished speaking, he looked as if he wanted to bite off his own tongue. But he did not stay any longer. His figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. Shenning. She looked at the dazzling objects on the ground. There was so much material evidence. Would it make a difference whether she said it or not? In the next moment, Lone Moon and I Ching flew over. Master, I felt something strange with the demonic chi. Did you? I Ching stopped mid-sentence. He looked at the immortal artifacts and Dharma treasures on the ground, stunned. Master, this. Holy shit. Lone Moon was also shocked. You were only gone for 15 minutes. Whose treasury did you rob? The mental hospital. Do you believe me? Don't talk nonsense. Quick, chef, help me out. She stretched out her hand from the pile of treasures. I'm buried and can't get out. Radish is on my leg. It's almost crushed to death. I Ching. Lone Moon. As a person of integrity, Shenning naturally told Father Nyo everything that happened at the bottom of the mountain. What a joke. She was not going to take the blame for such a huge loss. Anyway, they were not very close. After hearing that, Lone Moon sighed and silently put away the compensation on the ground. His expression did not change much. He just replied calmly. Oh. Shenning was stunned. She could not help but ask. There's less demonic chi. Is it okay? What happened to the special product of Invincible Sect? Father Nyo's reaction was not right. I was planning to think of a way to dispel the demonic chi in the near future. This saved him a lot of trouble. When he said that, not only Shenning, but even I Ching looked at him in surprise. Why? This method of selling demonic chi using spirit transmission talismans is not a long-term solution after all. Lone Moon said nonchalantly. It's fine to have a sense of mystery at first, but as time passes, people will find out that there's something strange about it. He used the auction method to maintain a sense of mystery, so that people would not guess that it was demonic chi. But after selling it for a long time, people would not be stupid. There would be people who would take things too hard and exchange their experiences. It was only a matter of time before they found out. That was why he had already stopped working with Xu Jiang half a year ago. What's more, all the disciples in the sect except for Xian Tong had successfully become Earth Immortals. With I Ching the young emperor around, unless the 10 celestial emperors personally came to find trouble with them, they really had nothing to fear. Of course, this was under the condition that Shenning was a cheat. I've already discussed with Wu Hong and Celestial Emperor Biao Ting about the immortal herbs. It won't be long before the first batch of immortal herb seeds is sent over, Lone Moon said naturally. Oh yes, those vegetables in the back mountain and so on. Quickly help me clean them up. Don't blindly plant them anymore and waste the land. In the future, let Radish plant immortal herbs from the heavens beyond heaven in batches. I've already discussed the distribution channels. I Ching. Shening. When exactly did he talk about it? Why did they not know at all? She really regretted handing over all the immortal stones just now. She should have kept some money for herself. Lone Moon did not expect that before the seeds from the two celestial emperors arrived, Bao Feiping, whom he had not seen for a long time, arrived. His cultivation level had increased again. He was already a Stygian immortal. When he saw Lone Moon and I Ching's cultivation level, he did not seem surprised. It was as if he already knew. Bao Feiping bowed to the few of them and smiled especially warmly. But for some reason, Lone Moon felt that compared to the naive city Lord Bao from a few years ago, there seemed to be something missing. There was a hint of arrogance in his expression. He reached out and handed a golden card to Lone Moon. Mystic Spirits and Immortals Association? Lone Moon frowned and put down the card in his hand. He looked at Bao Feiping. This is an invitation from the Celestial Emperor himself. He specially instructed us to attend the Immortals meeting at the Heaven Beyond Heaven in half a month. Bao Feiping's smile deepened. Chapter 165. Monarch. Ningzi, no. Celestial Emperor Chengge has returned to the heavens beyond heaven? Wasn't he recuperating at the Bo family? Bao Feiping smiled and looked around. Seeing that there were only 3 of them, he explained. To tell you the truth, the Celestial Emperor had already recovered his cultivation 2 years ago and returned to the immortal Rainbow Palace in the heavens beyond heaven. I'm afraid that all the countries in the Feng Song continent have already received the news that the Emperor has come out of seclusion. Therefore, this Mystic Spirits and Immortals gathering will be held to celebrate the Emperor's coming out of seclusion. What competition? Lone Moon noticed this word. Is there a competition at this immortal gathering? Don't you know? Bao Feiping paused and looked at them in surprise. Then, as if recalling something, he explained. Young Emperor I Ching has only just ascended to the throne. It's normal that he doesn't know. The Mystic Spirits and Immortals meeting was only held once every 100 years. Although it was personally hosted by the Emperor, it was actually just a fair competition between the nations of Feng Song continent. Although young Emperor I Ching has yet to officially establish a nation and proclaim himself as an emperor, his cultivation is already that of a young emperor. Naturally, he has the right to participate in this immortal gathering. I see. In other words, the so-called Mystic Spirits and Immortals meeting was actually a mini-Olympics? Furthermore, it was held once every 100 years. What was Chengge? Olympic Committee? Will all the monarchs go? But our sect has too few disciples. If that's the case, wouldn't it be? They had too few people. If they participated in this kind of competition, wouldn't they be sending themselves to die? I understand Elder Loneman's concerns. Bao Feiping stepped forward and continued. But I think it would be better for your sect to participate. Oh, Lone Moon understood what he was implying. Why? He seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed. Gritting his teeth, he lowered his voice and said, I'll be frank with you. Actually, 2 years ago, when the Celestial Emperor returned to the immortal Rainbow Palace, he received a joint petition from the various country emperors. They said that your invincible sect had created chaos in the Feng Song continent, and even schemed to destroy immortal Emperor Guyu's capital city. They begged the emperor to punish them. What they didn't know was that the emperor had known them for a long time and trusted them. The emperor could tell that there was more to this matter, so he suppressed it all. He looked at I Ching and continued. The Celestial Emperor has always seen through the intentions of the various emperors in Feng Song continent. Later, when they heard about young Emperor I Ching ascending to the throne from the Emperor Ascension stage, they guessed that the monarchs of the various countries were just unwilling to see another sword immortal young emperor joining forces to suppress your sect. No matter what, your esteemed sect has helped the celestial monarch, so we are naturally biased towards your esteemed sect. Therefore, if your sect doesn't participate in the immortals gathering in the name of Chongjin Nation, and instead participates alone, it will be difficult for you to do so. On one hand, it will show that the emperor supports your sect. On the other hand, it will warn the other emperors to restrain their thoughts of suppressing you. As soon as he finished speaking, Lonmun's face darkened. So it was all caused by those monarchs. She had thought that they had been beaten up by I Ching, but she did not expect that they had been secretly stabbing them in the back. He didn't dare to seek trouble openly, so he reported to the Immortal Rainbow Palace and wanted to borrow the Celestial Thearch's hand to take revenge. What a good plan. However, they probably didn't expect that they were already acquainted with Heavenly Emperor Chengge. Indeed, it was better to let Shining the cheat be reasonable. Those who were not beaten to the point of questioning their own lives would want to struggle a little. That's why it's best that your esteemed sect doesn't miss this immortal gathering. Whether you can win the competition or not is secondary. Sending a few disciples to participate is just a formality. Bao Feiping kindly reminded Lone Moon. Thank you, fellow immortal Bao. Lone Moon politely returned the gesture. Exalted immortal, you're too kind. Bao Feiping smiled, but a look of genuine worry flashed across his eyes. Although the immortal gathering will be held in the heavens beyond heaven, and the celestial emperor will be there, the various monarchs are not easy to deal with. However, the monarchs of the various countries are not easy to get along with, so everyone should be more careful on this trip. We'll remember that. Bao Feiping nodded. He explained the details of the immortal gathering to them, then stood up to leave. I still have matters to attend to at the Immortal Rainbow Palace. I'll return to the heavens beyond heaven first. Take care, fellow immortal. Lone Moon stood up to send him off. Bao Feiping then turned around and flew off on his sword. I Ching, who had been standing silently by the side until Bao Feiping could no longer be seen, finally asked, "You trust him?" Something felt off. Most likely. Lone Moon returned to his chair and picked up the cup of tea on the table to take a sip. Ningxian. No. Celestial Emperor Chengge has been in seclusion for thousands of years. It's impossible that no one has guessed what's going on. He's reopening the mystic spirits and immortals gathering, of course, not just to support us. What's more, they did not need to support him. He's just trying to intimidate the various monarchs and announce his authority as the Celestial Emperor. Anyone who could become a Celestial Emperor was a shrewd man. You intend to go? Of course I have to go. Lomon's eyes flashed. This was a great opportunity to do business. He was looking forward to seeing how the various monarchs would react when they saw I Ching. He had not even gotten his medical fees back from last time. This was the perfect opportunity. City Lord Bao, didn't you say that this competition will be divided into groups based on cultivation? Anyone below the exalted immortal level can participate. We can forget about the mystic immortal and Stygian immortal groups. We can just participate in the golden immortal and earth immortal groups. Especially the earth immortals. Didn't they say that the top 10 would be rewarded? Then he would take the top 10. He had faith in the diamond Barbies in his sect. I Ching did not ask further, as he thought about the ferocious girls in the sect. Late at night. The night was dark and windy. Shening wanted to sleep. Hey, what's that? Good heart. A familiar voice suddenly sounded. Shening, who was about to sleep, stopped in her tracks. She looked around and saw a black figure in the corner that was slowly being formed by the black fog. Shening paused. Hey boss, you're here to absorb the fog again? Did you bring enough money? What do you mean? The black figure that had just formed was stunned. A moment later, it seemed to recall something. It looked around cautiously, trying its best to hide the aura of its illusory body. I'm here to remind you. Did you bring immortal stones? She asked suddenly. Lan Hua froze. Then he exploded. Where would I get immortal stones? Didn't I give them all to you last time? Oh. Shening laid her head on the bed, ignoring him. Damn. Why are you sleeping? I already said I had something to do. Lan Hua panicked. He went forward and tugged at her clothes. This is for your own good. Don't be ungrateful. He tugged for a long time, but the person on the bed ignored him. Lan Hua's expression darkened. Anger rose in his heart. If she didn't want to listen, he didn't care. Then, he gritted his teeth and took out a handful of fine immortal stones and placed them beside the pillow. This damned good heart. The person on the bed sat up immediately. As she grabbed the immortal stones, she asked, "Boss, what's the matter? Why would his good heart be born for someone like this?" Chapter 166. The corners of Lan Hua's mouth twitched. He took a deep breath and suppressed the urge to vomit blood. Then he said, "I heard that you're going to the immortal Rainbow Palace in the heavens beyond heaven to participate in the Mystic Spirits and Immortals meeting. Is that true?" "Yeah." Chengge. Shining turned to look at him. "You know him?" Lan Hua was stumped, and something flashed across his face. After a while he said, "That's not important. I came to tell you that those celestial emperors aren't good people." "Oh." She pulled the quilt. "You don't believe me?" Lan Hua was even more anxious now. He pulled down the blanket and said, "I'm telling the truth, especially Chengge. Although he has the best reputation among the 10 celestial emperors, who knows what he does behind the scenes?" He seemed to think of something, and his brows tightened. "You have to be careful. It's best not to have too much contact with people like this, understand?" "Oh, but there are so many people participating in the tournament, so you probably won't meet him." "I'm not participating in the tournament." "What?" He was shocked. He had accidentally overheard the disciples of the sect talking about the Mystic Spirits and Immortals meeting. He was so impulsive that he had rushed over to remind her. Now that she had calmed down and thought about it, she was just an earth immortal. Furthermore, if one's immortal chi was so weak that one couldn't even see it, then they indeed weren't qualified to participate in the competition. It seemed that he had been nervous for nothing. He immediately let out a long sigh of relief. "It's best if you don't go?" "I'm going." "What?" He had just calmed down, but now he felt a surge of anger. If it wasn't an illusion, he would have spat out a mouthful of blood. "If you don't participate in the competition, what are you going to do?" "Father Neo said so," she said, not wanting to go either. "What Father Neo?" "He's an elder in charge of money in our sect." "Has your elder gone mad?" Lan Hua was getting more and more anxious. His entire phantom was floating back and forth in front of her. "Is there no one else here? Why did they send an earth immortal like you to join in the fun? The realm beyond heaven was not a fun place. Listen to me, don't go." "Probably not." "Why?" "Because I think I'm the sect leader." "Huh?" Lan Hua was stunned for a few seconds. "Sect leader? Her? Pardon me for asking. The people of your sect, are their brains filled with demonic energy? Choosing an earth immortal to be the sect leader." Just as he was about to ask a few more questions, his figure swayed, and the entire phantom image slowly faded away, as if it couldn't be maintained for much longer. He was a little flustered and hurriedly instructed, "My illusory body can't last much longer. Remember to be careful of Chengge. He's not a good immortal. Prepare more immortal treasures and magic tools. Bring the sun-concealing cotton I gave you last time. And also the can water damask, the soul-protecting hairpin. Oh right, and the heaven-fixing bell. Bring all of them." He hurriedly reported the names of a bunch of equipment, but his voice was getting softer and softer. Just as he was about to disappear, he added one last sentence. "If you really can't do it, you can find me in the willow forest 100 miles away. I have to go now. Remember, don't tell anyone about my visit today." With that, the black phantom completely disappeared from the room. "Oh." Shening nodded seriously, then turned to look at the two people who had been standing at the door for a long time. "This doesn't count as snitching, right?" "I Ching. Lone Moon." A while later, 100 miles away, in the southwest corner of the willow forest. "I'll go catch." With a swoosh, the sword in I Ching's hand emitted cold chi. In a flash, he flew out of the sect. Little b****, just you wait. 2 hours later, in the main hall of Invincible Sect, I Ching and Lone Moon sat side by side on the right, while Bitao, Feng Ying and Qi Qingyu sat on the left. They were all looking at the demon immortal, who had been beaten black and blue, and was tied up like a meat dumpling. No one made a sound. The only sound in the main hall was the sound of Shening, who was sitting at the head of the table, chewing on her fruit. "Who the hell are you?" Finally, Lone Moon was the first to speak. In a low voice he asked, "What is your purpose for breaking into Invincible's sect in the middle of the night?" Lan Hua felt like all the bones in his body were about to fall apart. He glared at Lone Moon, who was sitting at the head of the table, his stomach full of resentment. Didn't they agree not to tell anyone? Indeed, no immortal cultivator could be trusted. Speak. Seeing that Lan Hua did not respond for a long time, I Ching raised his hand, and 5 or 6 swords made of immortal qi appeared around him. The sword qi pressed down on him, leaving him nowhere to run. Lan Hua's wounds hurt even more. Thinking back to the scene in the willow forest, he wanted to vomit blood. He had been cultivating for many years. Although he had not become a sky fiend, to put it bluntly, he was invincible below the celestial emperor level. He had never thought that he would be beaten up by a young emperor. Damn it, sword immortals were indeed perverted. This one was especially perverted. He glanced at the immortal swords beside him to prevent himself from getting hit again. Then, gritting his teeth, he said his real name. "I am Lan Hua." Then, he laughed coldly and looked at the 2 people who had asked him the question, waiting for them to look panicked. That's right. He was Lan Hua, the demon lord Lan Hua. Lan Hua. Lone Moon frowned. Who? What kind of stupid name was that? Yi Hua. He felt like he had been stabbed. Bitao, you've been in the immortal realm the longest. Have you heard of him? Lan Hua. Lan. Bitao lowered his head and thought for a moment. After a while he said with certainty, no. Another stab. Impossible. He panicked and struggled to sit up. Think carefully. Demon Lord Lan Hua of the heavens beyond heaven. The one who single-handedly challenged the 10 celestial emperors 1,000 years ago. It's impossible that none of you have heard of him, right? No. Everyone answered in unison, including those who were still chewing on fruits. They wanted to vomit blood. Lone Moon. Is there a demon lord in the immortal realm? Bitao. This is the first time I've heard of it too. Qingyu. Perhaps there is. Wasn't I a demon supremacy before? Shening. I've seen a demon king before. I Ching. This one is probably too weak to be called a demon king. System. Ding. Don't call him a demon king. Be civilized. Lan Hua. That's enough. You can't insult a demon like that. Lan Hua had been in hiding for thousands of years. He had been a demon for tens of thousands of years. This was the first time he realized that his reputation was so low. Then for the past several thousand years, he had been trembling with fear, hiding his head and showing his tail, afraid that his enemies would discover his tracks. What was it for? What was it for? The demon life was so hopeless. Cut the crap. Lone Moon was getting impatient with the questions. He looked at the man in the middle who looked like a frosted eggplant. You've sneaked into Invincible Sect twice. What are you trying to do? Only then did he suppress his broken heart. He glared at Shening with even more resentment. He looked like he had given up on life and replied, I was trying to absorb the demonic qi around me to increase my cultivation. Then why are you doing it tonight? For her. He looked up at Shening. I didn't want to come either, but I left something with her. Lone Moon's expression darkened. That's not right. Shening had already handed over the pile of demonic qi. Could it be that she had a secret stash of money? What is it? Lan Hua looked at Shening, his eyes filled with grievance. He subconsciously replied, my heart. Shening. Lone Moon. With a swoosh, an immortal sword was pressed against Lan Hua's neck. I Ching's sword qi was overflowing. Enunciating each word, he said, how many pieces do you want to become? Indeed, he was a little B***tch who coveted his master. Everyone. Did they just hear a devil monarch level confession to a girl? Chapter 167. Lan Hua was a genius. Whether it was during his time as an immortal cultivator, or after he became a demon, he was a well-deserved top genius. He had never doubted this in his life. He was born in a top-notch cultivation family in the lower realm. He possessed the 1 in a million supreme grade 5 elemental spirit root. His cultivation speed was several times faster than a heaven spirit root. Due to his all-elemental spiritual root, he could practice any cultivation technique. Unlike others who specialized in one path, he simply learned everything. He was an all-rounder who was proficient in alchemy, talismans, tools, and formations. He could be considered the only cultivator in both the immortal realm and the mortal realm, who was an all-element cultivator. It only took him 500 years to ascend. After ascending to the upper realm, he became a golden immortal in 100 years, a profound immortal in 150 years, a Stygian immortal in 300 years, an exalted immortal in 600 years, an emperor in 1,000 years, and then an immortal emperor in another 1,000 years. In less than 4,000 years, he became a celestial emperor who could shake the world. It could also be considered the path to immortality. Is 500 years of ascension considered fast? Shunning suddenly interjected upon hearing this. Of course, Lanhua said proudly, the mortal realm's spirit qi is not comparable to immortal qi, and it has always been thin. Ascension was naturally not easy. Without 1,000 years of bitter cultivation, it was basically impossible to ascend to the great Tao. I'm not bragging, but no one in the entire immortal world can fly faster than me. Before he could finish, Lone Moon suddenly said, Oh, I ascended more than 400 years ago. Huh. He felt like he had been shot in the knee. Before Xiao Chun could question Xiao Chun, he heard the crowd discussing the time of ascension. I Ching. I have less than 200 years. Yu Hong replied, I ascended 180 years ago. What about you guys? Siyu replied, I'm short of someone who ascended in 90 years. Disciple 3. I think I'm 45. Disciple 4. I've only cultivated for 20 years. Disciple 5. Don't mention it. I've never cultivated before. I've only been in the sect for 2 months, when senior sister Hong came to inform me. Only then did I know that you've ascended. So, Lanhua's body was instantly covered with knives. Who are you trying to fool? For all. Ngungu, even if it was 400 years, what the hell were those after that? How could he ascend to become an immortal in such a short time? Why don't you King find someone to ascend after cultivating for 2 months? Ha. Lanhua took a deep breath. That's right. These people must be talking nonsense. Instantly he felt a little angry. What's the point of teaming up to scare me? Do you still want to hear my confession? What they said was true, but seeing that he looked like he was about to explode, everyone stopped their discussion. Okay, you confess. Please continue your performance. Lanhua snorted coldly before continuing his story. Lanhua's story was actually quite melodramatic. It could be summed up in 4 words: brothers fighting. Lanhua was a cultivation maniac, and he was proficient in all types of spells. Aside from cultivation, he was not interested in anything else. He had only done 3 things in his life. The first was to go into seclusion, the second was to train, and the third was to comprehend. It was precisely because of this focus that Lanhua cultivated the fastest, and was also the strongest among all the heavenly emperors. However, when it came to other matters, especially human relationships, he was completely clueless. Thus he made a fatal mistake. He brought his younger brother, Lan Yu, to the immortal realm and wholeheartedly handed over an entire continent to him to manage. Until now, he still could not understand why his younger brother, whom he had protected since he was young, would hate him so much that he would purposely lead him to become a demon. At that time, he had just become a heavenly emperor and had not been in charge of a continent for long. He had already cultivated all kinds of spells to the limit. It was as if he had suddenly lost his purpose in life. Coincidentally, Lan Yu told him that he had inadvertently obtained an ancient immortal technique and sent it to him. Immediately he was overjoyed. He tried to practice it and found that his cultivation actually showed signs of loosening. Thus he threw himself into it. However, he did not expect that it was a demonic technique, and that he had already planted a demonic seed in it. He had never been on guard against Lan Yu. By the time he realized it, it was already too late. He could not stop himself from becoming a demon. In less than 1,000 years, half of his immortal qi had turned into demonic qi. At first he was very angry and wanted to kill Lan Yu. However, After practicing demonic techniques for a long time, he unexpectedly found that his cultivation did not regress. Instead, it increased. This demon's cultivation method was actually completely different from that of immortals. As a diligent and studious prodigy, he immediately gave up resisting out of curiosity and completely became a demon. However, his younger brother did not intend to let him go so easily. He directly spread the news that he had become a demon, and even personally led the other 9 heavenly emperors to his hiding place, wanting to kill him. In a fit of anger, Lan Hua went all out. He rolled up his sleeves and fought with the few of them. 1 against 9, he fought for a few days, turning the entire heavens beyond heaven upside down. And then you lost? Shunning suddenly asked. Lan Hua's chest tightened. He felt like he had been stabbed again. His face instantly turned red. He shouted angrily, "Who lost? It's a draw. A draw, all right? I could hold on for so long and still escape unscathed. In terms of results, I already won." "Oh. Get rid of that doubtful look of yours. Humph. If not for the fact that I am not a sky fiend yet, I would have gone to seek revenge on them long ago. So you hid for thousands of years?" Whoosh. There was another stab in his chest. "Do you even know how to chat? You call that hiding? I'm cultivating. I'm not afraid of them. Based on the cultivation of those hypocrites, which one of them could last more than 2 hours against me? So you still lost to Chef?" My heart hurts. I can't continue this conversation. Lone Moon, who was at the side, patted his shoulder hard and gave him a sympathetic look. "You have nothing better to do, yet you have to talk about life with a cheat. Isn't it good to live well?" "Boss, what happened after that? What happened to the younger brother who stabbed you in the back?" Shining asked as she munched on some melon seeds. "Get lost. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I've already become a porcupine." "Lan Yu? Lan. Could it be Emperor Lan Yu?" Betel suddenly looked shocked. He said excitedly, great immortal, I remember now. Lan Yu is the current celestial emperor of the Yunzhe continent. His younger brother must have replaced him as the celestial emperor." "Shut up. I don't need you to add on. Our invincible sect is here to bring him down. Don't demons care about their reputation?" All right. Stop gossiping." Lone Moon turned to the disciples and said, "It's getting late. We have to get to the heavens beyond heaven as soon as possible." Lone Moon had already planned for this mystic spirits and immortals meeting. They would only participate in the Earth Immortal and Mystic Immortal competitions. That was why he had chosen a total of 15 disciples. Including the 3 of them, there would be less than 20 people. But Lan Hua's appearance had disrupted part of his plans. For the sake of the disciples, Lone Moon had to bring him along just in case. Everyone's cultivation levels were different. In order to arrive at the heavens beyond heaven on time, they had to sit on the gigantic Dharma artifact, the 10-direction boat, that Boss Lan had kindly sponsored. "Yu Hong, see you. Go to the front and take over for Qi Qingyu and Feng Ying. The rest of you rest. Don't forget that the competition is waiting for you. Stop gossiping and focus on your cultivation." "Yes, Elder." The disciples replied in unison and went their separate ways. Yu Hong and Siyu also went to the front to take over. Only Lan Hua was left sitting in the middle of the array, his face as black as ink. "Weren't you the ones who wanted to force a confession out of him? Since when did his confession become gossip?" "Since you didn't want to hear it, why did you beat him up the whole night yesterday? Come back and tell me everything." He was a demon who had been hiding for so many years. Now he was forced to go to the heavens beyond heaven to die. How could it be easy for him? It was all that damned Goodheart's fault. At this thought, he immediately turned to glare at a certain someone. Subconsciously, he opened his mouth and shouted, "It's all your fault. Wait, what are you eating? What kind of messy fruit is this? Can you eat something that has no immortal chi at all?" His expression changed. Throw it away, throw it away. Here, this is the jade cloud fruit I picked last night. If you want to eat this. Also, why are you still wearing this gray robe? Where's the Dharma robe I gave you? Why aren't you changing into it? The Dharma artifact is flying so fast. What if it gets blown off? Why are you sitting so far away? That's the side. How am I going to pull you up if you fall off? Come over quickly. Also, swoosh. A familiar long sword suddenly appeared on his neck, and a certain someone said with a straight face, Master, why don't we just kill this person? Don't burden the sect. Lanhua. Shening. Lone Moon. F** King retard. Chapter 168. Because there were too many people, Shening and the others took more than half a month to pass through the 9 heavenly gates and reach the heavens beyond heaven. The moment the 10-direction boat passed through the realm gates, the originally quiet heavenly realm was filled with noise. Around them, there were many large Dharma treasures of all shapes and sizes. Some were huge lotus flowers, some were chessboards, some were immortal seals, and most of them were immortal boats like theirs. They could faintly see immortal shadows swaying inside, but because of the array formation, they couldn't see what was going on inside clearly. These immortal artifacts were all luxurious and full of immortal chi, but none of them looked like the one they were sitting on now. Its entire body was as white as jade, and it was surrounded by the golden light of a nouveau riche. Compared to the different colored immortal boats in front of them, their boat looked even more impressive. The people on these immortal boats looked like they were also here to attend the immortals' gathering. But which country's emperor brought them here? Lone Moon counted carefully and realized that there were more than 8 boats. These people had obviously arrived earlier than them. From time to time, immortals would fly out of the Dharma artifact boat and onto other Dharma artifact boats, as if they were exchanging greetings. So although everyone was moving forward, they were moving very slowly. The appearance of the 10-direction boat naturally attracted everyone's attention. Divine perception swept over from time to time, as if trying to find out what was going on, but they were all blocked by the array formation on the boat. Instantly, more and more people's gazes swept over. Lone Moon looked at the sky full of immortal artifacts in front of him. He did not expect the heavens beyond heaven to be jammed too. How long would it last? Just as he was thinking, an immortal dressed in white flew over on an immortal crane. He wore a crown on his head and looked like an immortal official. Sure enough, that person stopped outside the array formation above the immortal boat and bowed towards it. His voice wasn't loud, but it was especially clear. I am the Celestial Emperor's welcoming immortal official. I'm here to welcome everyone. May I know which emperor has arrived? So there was a traffic police. Lone Moon heaved a sigh of relief. He glanced at the master and disciple beside him, who were not involved in this matter. Out of habit, he stepped forward and replied loudly, The Invincible Sect Master has brought young Emperor I Ching to attend the Mystic Spirits and Immortals gathering. Thank you, immortal official. With that said, he conjured a seal, and the invitation card in his hand flew out. The immortal official was stunned. Why did this reply sound so strange? Everyone else was some monarch of some country, bringing their disciples to participate in the immortal gathering. It was fine if this was a sect, but what was the meaning of the sect master bringing the young emperor to participate? But when he took a closer look at the post, there was nothing wrong with it. He didn't think too much about it. He didn't intend to fly into the 10-direction boat. He turned around and led them forward. Please. He didn't know if it was an illusion. But why did the bustling realm beyond heavens suddenly become quiet? Why did the immortal artifacts in front of him make way for him? They were too far away. Did they want to fly closer to communicate? When did the relationship between the various countries become so good? The immortal officer was full of doubts. Thinking of his mission, he didn't think too much about it, and directly led the immortal boat behind him to fly in, directly to the immortal palace that had been arranged. Lone Moon looked around. Indeed, the divine perception that had landed on the immortal boat had all been hurriedly retracted the moment he spoke. It seemed that I Ching's beating had some effect. The immortal boat followed the immortal officer for about 10 minutes. This was indeed the realm beyond heavens. The deeper they flew, the thicker the immortal chi around them became. Countless immortal mountains and blessed lands flashed past them. Compared to the lonely emperor ascension stage they went to previously, this place was many times better. They could even feel the aura of several immortal meridians. All the disciples on the boat couldn't help but look around excitedly and curiously. Except for Lan Hua. From the moment they entered the 9-layered immortal gate, he didn't say a word. Logically speaking, immortal qi shouldn't have much effect on a demon at his level of cultivation. He really wasn't afraid of some immortal qi. But this was the realm beyond heavens after all. For all he knew, he might bump into those bastards, the celestial emperors. But now he was trapped in an array formation, guarded by a young emperor sword immortal, who didn't like him the entire time. Not to mention fighting him head-on. He might not even be able to keep his life. Along the way, he had been trying his best to hide his demonic qi, hoping to find an opportunity to escape. However, the sword immortal named I Ching seemed to find him particularly unpleasant. Not only did he threaten to kill him at every turn, he was also guarding against him like a thief. Even if he stretched out his leg, an immortal sword would stab him. He really had no choice but to follow them all the way to the realm beyond heavens. Sigh, it's all over. It looks like these people are going to hand him over to that bastard, Chen Ge. It's all because of that damned kindness. Boss, this is for you. Just as he was thinking, he felt a weight on his neck. Something was hanging on him. Stunned, he looked at the necklace on his neck, then looked up at kindness. This is a blocker that baby gave me, Shening said casually. It's used to hide the smog on your body. Don't throw it away. You have to return it. What did she mean? Who is baby? Lan Hua looked confused. He took a closer look and realized that all the demonic qi around him had disappeared. He looked just like an ordinary earth immortal. This necklace. It could actually hide his demonic qi. Lan Hua's eyes widened. He looked up and asked stupidly, didn't you want to hand me over to the Celestial Emperor? Celestial Emperor? Shening paused and asked seriously, do you owe him money? No. Oh, then why did you hand it over to him? Lan Hua was speechless. He looked at the necklace on his neck again. He felt like he was dreaming. Then why did they bring him here? They said they were going to make a trip. Was it really just a trip? What happened to the saying that immortals and demons could not coexist? Suddenly, a familiar warmth flowed from the bottom of his heart for no reason. The feeling from the last time when he gave her the fruit surged up again. It rushed into his eyes and made his eyes feel a little hot. His heart felt stifled and suffocated. Wait, this feeling is kindness, don't be rash. So he took out a storage bag. Immortal pills, Dharma artifacts, Dharma talismans. Take whatever you want. There's no need to return it to me. You still have more. Oh, big boss. I replenished some when I returned to the Willow Forest. After all, he was a celestial emperor. He did not lack these things. What else do you want? Air, immortal dash, immortal stones. Here. He took out 2 more bags with tears in his eyes. These are immortal stones and some immortal fruits. Take them all. I beg you to stay away from me. Don't be so nice to me, all right? All right. Thank you, boss. Shening turned and left. Lan Hua's heart was bleeding. He had to restrain the urge to take out his intrinsic Dharma artifact. Kindness and all that was too scary. The onlookers and lone moons. It was the right decision to let Shening bring them over. Chapter 169. Compared to the ordinary immortal cities in the immortal realm, the heavens beyond heaven was obviously much larger. Although there were no bustling streets, there were many floating immortal palaces. To prevent unnecessary conflicts between countries, the Immortal Rainbow Palace prepared a floating immortal residence for every team participating in the immortal gathering. Shen Ying and her group were also arranged to stay in an independent immortal residence. Because there were not many of them, it seemed a little empty. They had not rested for long when the immortal in charge of receiving them came again, saying that the Celestial Emperor had invited the country emperors to discuss the competition the next day. Lone Moon said a few words to Yu Hong, then brought Shening and I Ching over. Only now did they see the so-called Immortal Rainbow Palace. As expected of the residence of the Celestial Emperor, it was different from the other immortal palaces. The entire palace seemed to be made of huge crystals that floated high in the sky, reflecting the sunlight and emitting a rainbow-like luster. From time to time, something swam inside. Lone Moon walked closer and realized that it was actually an immortal meridian. There were several immortal meridians surrounding the immortal palace. Even the crystal-like walls were formed by the condensation of immortal chi. He could not help but feel surprised. Immortal meridians were difficult to find. A complete immortal meridian could allow an ordinary earth immortal to ascend to an exalted immortal. Didn't the Qing Tong Immortal Abode Master destroy the Azure world time and time again to nurture an immortal meridian? Who would have thought that immortal meridians were so worthless in the heavens beyond heaven that they could be used to build houses? The immortal who received them led them to the entrance of the immortal palace, pointed in the direction of the main hall in front, and stopped. They walked a few steps closer. From afar, they could hear the voices of the people in the hall. There were also a few familiar auras. The three of them thanked him and walked directly into the main hall. The moment they entered the hall, the voices inside stopped, as if someone had pressed a pause button. Dozens of eyes in the hall turned to look at the entrance, especially the 8 people sitting in the innermost area. Their faces turned green and white. It was an indescribable sight. They glanced at I Ching, then hurriedly looked away. The silence in the hall was a little strange. "You're finally here. Here." A familiar voice came from the right. Sun Shu, who had been sitting silently all this time, immediately waved at the 3 people at the entrance and pointed to the empty seat beside him. The 3 of them walked over, only to realize that Chen Ge had not arrived yet. Thinking about it, it was normal. After all, he was the celestial Tharch, so he naturally had to appear at the end. They were considered to have arrived late. There were already dozens of people inside. He recognized everyone sitting there. Apart from Sun Shu, there were also the country emperors who had been beaten up by I Ching. Their expressions were all ugly. Behind each of them stood a few immortals, most likely their disciples. All the country emperors were looking at I Ching. They didn't know if it was an illusion, but they suddenly felt their bodies aching. Everyone simultaneously recalled the scene of a certain day, and their expressions changed again and again. They looked as if they wanted to explode in anger, but did not dare to do so. Back then, they had been beaten up so badly. Naturally, they wanted revenge. However, due to his reputation, he couldn't openly make things difficult for him. On top of that, with his cultivation, he really didn't dare to face him head-on. That was why they wanted to submit a joint report to the God Monarch, who knew that the Celestial Emperor would not care at all. Not long after, news spread that he had been promoted to Young Emperor. Today, he was even invited to the Mystic Spirits and Immortals meeting in the name of Invincible Sect. Naturally, everyone knew the reason behind it in their hearts. Being able to attend the Mystic Spirits and Immortals meeting meant that the Celestial Emperor had already recognized his status as equal to the country emperors. Even if he were to establish a country and become an emperor in the future, they wouldn't be able to say anything. They could only swallow the grudge of being beaten up the last time. They watched as the 3 of them walked through the main hall towards Sun Shu. I Ching walked at the front, and there were only 2 people behind him. The country emperors subconsciously glanced at them. One was an exalted immortal, the other was an earth immortal. They were all unfamiliar faces. In the main hall, there was only an empty chair next to Sun Shu. They thought that I Ching would sit down, but unexpectedly, he only took a step to the side. On the other hand, the woman behind him sat down with a natural expression on her face. The last exalted immortal followed I Ching and stood on the other side of the chair. Everyone couldn't help but feel surprised. They began to guess at the woman's identity. Why was the young Emperor I Ching so respectful towards her? But no matter how they looked at it, she was just an earth immortal. Yet they didn't dare to go over and ask. Even Sun Shu, who was standing beside them, looked at them as if it was only natural. He turned around and said, "You're finally here. I can't even find someone to talk to. I'm dying of boredom. By the way, how many people did you bring this time?" "Young Emperor Sun, you seem to be well prepared." Lone Moon did not answer. Instead, he looked at the 4 or 5 people behind him. Although their cultivation levels were not high, they were surrounded by sword chi. One look and Lone Moon could tell that they were sword immortals. They must be the new tribesmen he had found. Not well prepared. Sun Shu smiled. He looked at the people behind him and said, I only brought a few of them. The competition is secondary. The main thing is for them to see the world. Of course, it would be better if they could win. I see. Something flashed across Lone Moon's eyes. I wonder how the people young Emperor Sun is looking for are coming along. It's going well. Sun Shu smiled. His already coquettish face looked even more despicable now. He said smugly, I've already found more than 10 people. Then congratulations, young lord. Lone Moon nodded sincerely. Then he changed the topic and said, in that case, in the future, when you want to refine immortal weapons, young emperor can deliver the goods in advance. Sun Shu was at a loss for words. He wanted to spit blood at Lone Moon's face. The warm feeling he had when he met Lone Moon was instantly extinguished. Hey, do you have any shame? What do you take me for? I've already refined immortal weapons for you for so many years. Are you going to let me live? Don't worry, young emperor. Just deliver the goods 10 days to half a month in advance. We can wait. Didn't you only give me a month's time? Is that so? Then what do you think about delivering the goods every week? That's every 7 days. Get lost. Young emperor, do you know any friends who refine pills? Those who make talismans are fine too. That's enough. Young emperor, don't be angry. Let's talk about it slowly. We're reasonable people. Lone Moon was already in business mode. He pulled Sun Shu along and started chatting. At first, Sun Shu was obviously angry. Then he became confused. In the end, he really started to ask Lone Moon questions about which sect in the immortal realm had the best life skills. The two people at the side were obviously used to it. They did not even look to the side. One was busy munching on the immortal fruits on the table, while the other was busy passing them to him. From time to time, they would replenish their supplies from their storage bags. Seeing that the few of them had no intention of settling the score with them, the country emperors were no longer as wary as before. As they waited for the celestial emperor to arrive, they started chatting in 2s and 3s. However, their voices were clearly much softer than before. At this moment, a girl suddenly flew down from the door. She looked to be about 15 or 16 years old, and was dressed in pink. Her clothes were embroidered with the unique pattern of the immortal rainbow palace. Her cultivation level was only that of an earth immortal. Chapter 170. Everyone glanced at her. Seeing that she was an immortal official from the immortal rainbow palace, they did not pay much attention to her. But she walked straight in, looking innocent and naive. She sized up the people in the room boldly. Wow, so these are the country emperors, she suddenly said. Suddenly, she saw Shining sitting in the middle, chewing on a fruit. Shocked, her eyes brightened. She walked over quickly, and stood in front of Shining. Hey, there's a big sister here. Her eyes widened as she looked Shining up and down. She asked in a friendly tone. Big sister, which country are you from? She subconsciously reached out to hold Shinying's hand. I Ching frowned and stepped forward to stop her. Master is still drinking tea. Don't be rude. Ah. The girl seemed to have just noticed the teacup in Shinying's hand. She took a step back and stuck out her tongue playfully. Sorry, big sister. I was too excited to see you. I didn't realize you were holding a cup of tea. Shining did not reply. She lowered her head and took a sip. Big sister, why aren't you saying anything? She tilted her head and looked at her even more intently. I was just curious when I saw that there was a big sister among the country emperors. Oh yes, I'm Hui Ling. What's your name? Hui Ling. She had just finished speaking when a man in white rushed in. He first bowed to the country emperors, then looked at the girl helplessly. How could you come here? This is the place where the country emperors discuss business. Senior brother Lu Ming. I'm a genius. I'm here to take a look. The girl pouted. She did not look guilty at all. Instead, she pulled the man and said excitedly, Senior brother, look. I found a big sister among the country emperors. It's a pity that big sister doesn't want to tell me which country she's from. Lu Ming paused and looked at Shining. He seemed to have seen through her cultivation level. Shocked, he hurriedly tugged at the girl. Junior sister, don't talk nonsense. I'm not talking nonsense. Hui Ling looked indignant. She looked at Shenning again. Senior brother, you are good at lying to me. You said that there are no female immortals in Feng Song continent. Now there is. Junior sister. Lu Ming felt even more awkward. He looked at Shenning apologetically, but when he turned to Hui Ling, he did not seem to be blaming her. Instead, his eyes were filled with affection. This is not the monarch. Be obedient and come back with me. No. Hui Ling was shocked. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she stared at Shenning. She snorted and said in a reproachful tone, If big sister is not the monarch, why would you be sitting here? Wasn't that a seat only reserved for monarchs? Sister, please get up. This is against the rules. The moment she said that, everyone's expression changed, especially Lone Moon and I Ching. Even the emperors of the various countries looked over, as if they were watching a good show. They had long been curious about the woman's identity, but they didn't dare to ask. On the other hand, the protagonist, who was sitting on the chair, calmly nibbled on his fruit, as if he hadn't heard what they said. Lu Ming's face stiffened. His junior sister couldn't tell, but he could. Although this woman looked like an earth immortal, the person standing behind her was obviously a young emperor. Lu Ming's tone became more serious. Junior sister, don't talk nonsense. Hui Ling did not understand his hint. She said in a low voice, feeling wronged. I didn't say anything wrong. This fairy really knows how to talk. Lone Moon laughed coldly and took a step forward. Dare I ask, is it written on this seat that only monarchs can sit on it? Or is there a rule in the Immortal Rainbow Palace that states that the sect master of Invincible Sect can't sit here? Or is it that Celestial Emperor Chen Go personally invited us here? Just to make our sect master stand here as punishment? In the entire immortal and mortal realms, no one dared to make Shenning angry. Where did this pretentious B***TCH come from? What right did she have? This? Lu Ming was at a loss for words. He cupped his fists and bowed. My junior sister is young and ignorant. She said the wrong thing. Please forgive her this time. He didn't expect them to be the invincible sect that the Celestial Emperor had mentioned. He thought for a moment, and gave the person beside him a look. His voice became serious as he said, Hui Ling. The corner of the woman's mouth turned up, but she did not feel the slightest bit guilty. Instead, she looked aggrieved. She hugged Lu Ming's hand and shook it coquettishly. Senior brother. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Why was she so petty? Lone Moon's expression darkened. Who was she apologizing to? Lu Ming turned to look at Shenning, who had not moved from her seat. Sect master, my junior sister is just a small immortal. She offended you just now. Please be magnanimous and forgive her. Shenning raised her head and looked at the innocent Hui Ling. After a moment of silence, she nodded and said, All right. Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief and was about to say something. Shenning suddenly stood up and took 2 steps forward. She raised her hand and poured the tea in the cup over Hui Ling's head. Hui Ling clearly did not expect Shenning to do that. She was stunned. In an instant, she was drenched in tea. There was even a small handful of tea leaves on her head. The crowd had not reacted. Shenning suddenly turned around and looked at Lone Moon. Imitating Hui Ling, she said in a flat voice, Father Neo, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Lone Moon paused, then understood immediately. He cupped his fists and said in the same tone as Lu Ming, Fellow immortal, my sect master is young and immature. She did something wrong. Please forgive her this time. Lu Ming. Hui Ling. The crowd. 2 seconds later. Pooey. Ha 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 ha. Sun Shu sprawled on the coffee table and laughed maniacally. Only then did he realize that no one who could ascend to immortality was really young. Shenning was just returning the same words to them. This was a slap in the face. They would never be able to face the words young and immature again. Hui Ling could tell that they were mocking her for pretending to be young and immature. Instantly, she was embarrassed and angry. Her face turned red and she stamped her feet. With her hair wet, she ran out crying. Junior sister. Lu Ming shouted. He turned to look at them unhappily, then turned to chase after Hui Ling. Lone Moon gave the cheat beside him a thumbs up and heaved a huge sigh of relief. He had long been annoyed by that little bitch who was pretending to be naive. She just saw that Shening did not have any immortal chi on her, and thought that she was an earth immortal. She was clearly implying that Shening did not deserve to sit here. A bunch of ignorant people. If Shening was not worthy, then no one in the immortal realm was. Well done. I want to give you more food. More food. Shening tilted her head and continued speaking in a flat tone. Father Nyo, what are you saying? I didn't do anything. Hey. Are you addicted to pretending to be green tea? I'm telling the truth. That's enough. Get rid of the word I. You're not cut out for that, alright? Forget about your tone. At least show some expression. You're so annoying. You're bullying me again. Shy. How the hell are your expressions supposed to be spoken? I added parentheses. Parentheses my ass. Do you think adding parentheses to WeChat makes it an emoticon? Oh, wait. I'm not talking about making faces. Put your hands down. Chapter 171. Shening and the others did not have to wait long. About 15 minutes later, immortal chi surged at the door, and a few figures landed. The country emperors who had been whispering to each other stood up and bowed to the door. Greetings, Celestial Emperor. A person walked in through the door. He was dressed in white and had black hair. His entire body was surrounded by immortal chi, and his face was well defined. Although he was not as devilish as Sun Shu and Radish, in the celestial world where the overall standard was high, he could be considered outstanding. He had a gentle and kind face, but there was a sense of authority about him that could not be ignored. But he did not have the childishness that he had when he was Ning Xian. It was not just his appearance. He had completely changed back to Celestial Emperor Chen Ge. Chen Ge nodded at the crowd and walked directly to the main seat in the hall. He stopped when he saw Shening, who was still focused on eating. All the country emperors in the hall stood up and bowed to him. She was the only one sitting. He didn't know if it was because no one was paying attention, but no one noticed. Sect Master Shen, long time no see. Chen Ge stopped and looked at her with a smile. He asked casually, was the journey smooth? Huh. Shening still had half a piece of pastry in her mouth. She nodded and swallowed. It was pretty good. Thank you. Who was this person? That's good. Only then did he nod his head in relief. The country emperors' faces darkened. No wonder the Celestial Emperor ignored their joint request. He was already acquainted with Invincible Sect. They could not help but worry. Chen Ge continued to walk in, but a malicious gaze suddenly swept over the three of them. Lo Moon looked up and saw a man and a woman following behind Chen Ge. One was Lu Ming, and the other was dressed in emerald green. It was Hui Ling. She changed her clothes quite quickly. She seemed to be very unhappy with Shening. She glared at Shening when Chen Ge turned around and snorted softly. It was as if she was saying, just you wait. It was clearly a malicious gaze, but she looked like a spoiled little girl. It was hard to get angry. Shening tilted her head. Before she could retract her expression, she suddenly pulled her face with both hands and stuck out her tongue, making an even more professional face at her. Hui Ling was stunned. She didn't expect him to do this. Startled by her, he stumbled and fell forward. Junior sister. Lu Ming was shocked and quickly held onto the person beside him so that she didn't fall face first. Are you all right? Even Chen Ge, who was about to sit down, turned around. Little Ling, what's wrong? You can't even walk without falling? Hui Ling was so angry that she could no longer maintain the innocent expression on her face. Suddenly, she recalled Lo Moon's mocking words. His heart felt like it was on fire, and his eyes turned red. Before he could stand still, he pointed at Shening and said angrily, Master, she scared me on purpose just now. Shening, who had already regained her composure, sat calmly on the chair. Bite me. Instead, Lo Moon was shocked. Master. She was actually Chen Ji's disciple. How could that be? Chen Ge frowned and said sternly, Little Ling, don't spout nonsense. I'm not spouting nonsense. Hui Ling seemed to be extremely angry. Tears welled up in her eyes as she revealed what had happened earlier. She obviously doesn't like me. Just now she even poured tea on my head. Senior brother, you saw it too. Master. Lu Ming stepped forward and said, Junior sister is not lying. Junior sister came in out of curiosity just now. Sect Master Shun did have some conflict with her. As soon as he finished speaking, Lone Moon, I Ching, and even Sun Shu's faces darkened. What was going on just now? Everyone knew that Lu Ming's words were obviously saying that Shining was the one who bullied them. Lone Moon snorted coldly and was about to argue, but Chun Ji's expression darkened. He shouted first, Shut up. I believe in Sect Master Shun's character. The two of you must have neglected an important guest. Master. Hui Ling raised her head in disbelief. Leave. His voice became even colder as he turned to look at Lu Ming. As her senior brother, you did nothing to stop her, and allowed her to do as she pleased. Both of you are to face the wall at Qingxin Peak, and reflect on your mistakes. You are not allowed to leave without my permission. Master. Lu Ming fell to his knees looking flustered. But tomorrow is the competition. You don't have to participate. He turned to Hui Ling. You too. Leave. Master. Hui Ling looked like she had suffered a huge blow. As if a switch had been turned on, tears streamed down her face. She turned to look at Shining, sniffled, turned and ran out. Lu Ming bowed, his face pale. Then he turned and left to receive his punishment. Sect Master Shun. Chun Ge softened his tone, and looked at Shining apologetically. It's my fault for not disciplining her properly. Little Ling is a disciple I brought up from the mortal realm. She had a tragic life and suffered a lot. That's why I spoiled her. That's why she offended Sect Master Shin. Please forgive her. Oh, it's fine, Shining replied nonchalantly. Loman's frown deepened. What a coincidence. Chen Ge then sat down and looked at the country emperors in the hall. In a low voice he said, Thank you for your hard work. Everyone responded. Their eyes could not help but drift to Shining. They did not know where this woman came from. How could the celestial emperor reprimand his own disciple for her? They could not help but be more wary of the invincible sect. What followed was a long series of official speeches, and all kinds of commercial boasting. At the same time, they informed everyone about the competition schedule and venue. Then they went their separate ways. What was strange was that Lone Moon, who had always been like a fish in water in such occasions, did not speak again. He just stood where he was, looking like he was deep in thought. The next day was the official competition. The moment Lone Moon returned, he summoned the 15 participating disciples to discuss the tactics for the competition. Unlike the sect competition in the lower realm, the immortal realm's competition was much more advanced. Moreover, all the groups would be held at the same time. All those who were young emperors and above had the ability to open mystic realms. What's more, there were many immortal meridians and abundant immortal qi. Chun Ge directly opened up an independent mystic realm for each group of participants. There were all kinds of realms inside. There was no need to go through the trouble of competing one by one. He just threw the entire group in. Those who entered could fight freely. Everyone had an immortal talisman with them. If they could not win, they could crush the talisman and come out of the mystic realm. There were 10 special array flags in each group, and the mystic realm would close after 6 hours. At that time, all the people who were still inside would be ejected, and the last 10 people who obtained the array flags would be the winners. It was simple and violent. It did not waste time. After the top 10 were decided, they would fight each other to determine their ranking. There are 4 groups in this competition. They are divided according to their cultivation. Lone Moon instructed seriously. So you don't have to worry. The people you will meet in the mystic realm will be of the same cultivation level as you. Just do what you usually do. Yes, everyone replied in unison. Yu Hong see you. He looked at the 2 people on the right. There are only 5 people in the Golden Immortal group. The 2 of you will lead the group. You can take care of each other. Yes, Elder. The 2 of them nodded. As for the Earth Immortal group, he scanned the remaining 10 people. Most of them were disciples who were recruited later. They did not have enough experience. Feng Qingyu, the 2 of you have more experience. It's not your first time in the mystic realm. I'll leave the rest to you. All right. Feng Ying nodded. Brother Lone Moon, don't worry. I'll look after them. Nobody knows what the mystic realm will look like tomorrow. It's good to get the array flags. If we really can't get them, we don't have to fight. Loneman's expression darkened. Getting out safely is the most important thing. They were not familiar with the terrain and could not come up with any good ideas. He sighed. Then, he glanced at a certain person who was lying on the table like a pile of mud. His brows furrowed. Hey, you're the sect master. Can't you at least say something? Oh, Shenning turned to look at the group. She thought for a moment and said, Actually, I do have an idea. Lone Moon was shocked. He looked at her in surprise. What idea? Hide. What? What did she mean? As the saying goes, hide and you'll live longer. Lone Moon. Everyone. Hide my ass. Do you think the Mystic Realm competition is a chicken dinner? If you hide, you won't become a box. I think Master's words make sense. I Ching nodded in agreement. Lone Moon immediately glared at him. Master, you're bragging. You don't have to say what she said makes sense. I Ching ignored him and continued. There are many Earth Immortals and Golden Immortals. There are thousands of Earth Immortals participating. That means there are at least hundreds of people from each country. Just a few of them alone. Even if they get the array flags, they won't be able to fight so many people. It's better to hide first. When the countries are almost done fighting, the number of people will naturally decrease. If they get the array flags now, they will have a higher chance of winning. Lone Moon paused. Thinking about it that way, it did make some sense. The disciples understood too. They looked at Shenning with shining eyes. She was the sect master indeed. All right, we'll do that, Lone Moon said. After you go in, don't be in a hurry to fight. Act according to the situation. Yes. Shenning waved her hand. All the best. Get chicken dinner tomorrow. Lone Moon. You're still talking about getting chicken dinner. I Ching. Master is going to get chicken dinner tomorrow. We can start preparing. The disciples. Sect master is indeed unfathomable. Mystic spirits and spirits meeting. Shenning and the others arrived early, but the competition venue was already surrounded by many people. At a glance, it was a sea of people. There were at least tens of thousands of people. This was more than the number of people they saw when they first came to Heavens Beyond Heaven. After asking around, they found out that it was not just Feng Song continent. The country emperors of other continents had also sent people to participate. As usual, Lone Moon gave his disciples a pep talk. He even dragged Shenning along to give these diehard fans some encouragement, and personally sent them to the waiting area. Then, he brought Shenning and I Ching to the spectator stand. The people on the spectator stand were all present. Even Chen Ge was sitting there. The three of you are here. Chen Ge smiled and greeted them. Celestial Emperor. Lone Moon and I Ching bowed politely. Hey! Shenning waved her hand. She could not remember his name. A moment later she said, Salted fish? Cough cough. Lone Moon choked. He turned and glared at her. You should at least remember one or two names. What the hell is salted fish? Even if you smacked him with a fish, you can't call him that, can you? Chen Ge was stunned. He clearly did not understand what she meant. He did not pursue the matter further. He invited the three of them to sit beside him. Then, he turned and gave the person beside him a look. Sect Master Shen Ling, who had been standing beside him, finally walked out. Lone Moon and I Ching subconsciously frowned. Wasn't she in confinement? Why was she released so soon? It seemed like Chen Ge really liked this disciple. Ling changed her attitude and bowed respectfully to Shenning. Ling, was rude yesterday and offended Sect Master. I hope Sect Master can be magnanimous and forgive Linger's offense. Seeing that Shenning was not speaking, Ling looked at Chen Ge anxiously. She gritted her teeth and knelt down. Shenning did not speak. She turned to Father Nyo out of habit. Fellow immortal, you don't have to do this. At this point, there was no point in continuing to argue. Lone Moon replied. What's more, this is a small matter. Our sect master did not take it to heart. If she took it to heart, it would not be as simple as pouring a cup of tea on you. It would make you doubt your life. Thank you, Sect Master Shen. Ling stood up. She looked as if she had completed some kind of mission. She turned to Chen Ge and stood behind him. Her eyes were full of grievance and grievance. Sect Master Shen is indeed a broad-minded person. Chen Gu ignored Hui Ling's grievance and smiled at the few of them. As for Shening, he couldn't quite see through her. She looked like an earth immortal with so little immortal qi that it was almost invisible. She looked so weak that any immortal could crush her to death. But Yi Qing, who was a young emperor, and Lone Moon, who was an exalted immortal, seemed to respect her very much. They even seemed to regard her as their leader. Even during the days when he was an invincible sect as Ning Zian, all the disciples in the sect worshipped her for no reason. At first, he thought that she was Yi Qing's former master. That was why they treated her like that. But later on, he was manipulated by his mental demons and entered the demon world. She realized that even the Devil King was obedient to her. That was why he guessed that her identity was not simple. As for whether it was what it seemed on the surface, he even guessed that Lone Moon and Yi Qing's cultivation had increased so quickly because of her. Someone that even the Demon King was so afraid of could possibly be related to the divine race. Someone like that could not be offended. Master, the competition is about to begin, Yi Qing reminded her. Indeed, a large group of disciples had gathered in the square below. In front of the crowd, there were 4 huge stone doors. There were complicated arrays on them. They were glowing with white light. They could vaguely see the mountains and rivers inside. Master, I'm going over, Hui Ling suddenly said. Be careful. Chen Ge nodded. Hui Ling mounted her sword and flew towards the entrance of the leftmost Earth Immortal group. It looked like she was also going to participate in the competition. No wonder Chen Ge let her out so quickly. I wonder what happened to that Lu Ming. Chen Ge conjured a seal and set up an array in front of him. Suddenly, several water mirrors appeared in front of him. They showed the images of the mystic realm. They were the 4 that had appeared at the start of the competition. But it was still empty. They could clearly see the mountains, lakes, snowy mountains and grasslands. Chen Ge stood up and announced the start of the competition. The array on the huge stone opened up, revealing an entrance. The disciples of the various groups flew inside one after another. The disciples of Invincible Sect chose to fly in from the middle, neither too early nor too late. Compared to the people who started looking for array flags the moment they entered, the disciples of Invincible Sect were much more passive. They found a dense and inconspicuous patch of grass nearby and set up a few concealment arrays. Then they squatted down in a row. They were very serious, lying low. They did not move. Chapter 172. Lone Moon looked seriously at the water mirror in front of him. The water mirror showed the whole picture of the mystic realm. Because there were special seals on the array flags, the country emperors on the viewing platform could see the positions of the array flags very clearly. In less than half an hour, almost all of the 10 array flags had been found. Only 2 or 3 of the array flags had not been found yet. He looked at the positions of the people from his own sect. Feng Ying had the system. The 10 people from the Earth Immortal group were obviously very successful. In addition, the place they chose was near the entrance. The 10 flags could not all be placed at the entrance. Therefore, most people's first reaction was to search deeper into the mystic realm. Very few people would turn back. For a moment, the door became the safest place. Although they occasionally met 1 or 2 people who turned back, they did not pose much of a threat. Just as they guessed, the people who entered the mystic realm gathered together in groups of countries. But there were only 10 flags. As time passed, there were naturally differences. More and more people were eliminated. In the end, even those who cooperated were mostly in groups of 2 or 3, and the 10 flags had basically all been found. Just as everyone was carefully guarding the flags, waiting for the end of the competition, the Invincible Sect, who had been lying low for more than 4 hours, began to move. Almost without thinking, he walked directly towards the nearest person who had obtained an array flag. There were only 3 people there. 10 against 3. The advantage was obvious. The flags were successfully taken. It was even easier to find the flags later. With the system's map, no matter how deep the other party hid, they could find them. They were harvesting the flags. By the time everyone reacted and wanted to unite, it was already too late. The mystic realm was too big. It was easy to separate, but to gather again, it was difficult for anyone except the system who had the god's view. The country emperors who were originally focused on the Stygian immortal and mystic immortal groups were shocked to find that the flags of the Earth immortal group were gathering. At first there were 2, then 3, 4, 5. Finally, half of the flags were gathered together. And more flags were gathering. They could not help but look at the team of 10 people. After careful observation, they realized that apart from the 2 leaders, the others did not seem to be using any spells. They were only fighting with the swords in their hands. They could not help but guess. Could it be 8 sword immortals? The spectators did not mind. It was normal for sword immortals to have such strength. But they were still earth immortals. Their sword chi was not strong. Until they encountered a team of 10 people. They no longer had the advantage in numbers. They were surrounded. Even the 2 leaders were losing ground. The country emperors heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that these people could only go so far. Seeing that the array flags that they had gathered with great difficulty were about to be snatched, the situation suddenly reversed. Why did the 2 leaders suddenly hide behind them? Were they planning to disperse? Why did the other 8 people throw away their weapons? Why did the other 8 people throw away their weapons? Why did she suddenly turn into a muscular girl just a moment ago? Why didn't the other people's spells have any effect on them? And why did they destroy their immortal weapons with one on? Crushing the immortal talisman to send the enemy out was one thing. But directly throwing the enemy out in the direction of the door? More importantly, they really threw them out. The spectators were dumbfounded. It was only when the 8 people eliminated the people surrounding them as easily, as if they were pulling out carrots, that they came to a shocking conclusion. These people were definitely not sword immortals. They were body cultivators. There were actually body cultivators in the immortal realm. Ascension. Alive. And they were the kind that appeared in groups. Quick, look at the mystic realm of the golden immortal. Someone shouted. The crowd turned to look at the mystic realm of the golden immortal. The same scene was playing out in the mystic realm of the golden immortal, except that the number of people was halved. There were only 5 people on this side. But they were clearly more ferocious than the Earth immortal group. Especially the weak-looking immortal in the middle. After his transformation, he was actually taller than everyone else. The muscles on his body were clearly visible. He could send 5 or 6 people flying with a single punch without panting. Even a mystic immortal might not stand a chance against him, much less a golden immortal. The crowd grew more and more curious. Body cultivators. Body cultivators. Where did so many body cultivators come from? And they were all unfamiliar faces. Who knew which country's emperor had chosen them? 6 hours passed in the blink of an eye. The competition was about to end. Out of the 10 array flags of the Earth Immortal group, 9 were already in the hands of Feng Ying's team. They were collecting the last array flag. As for the Golden Immortal group, Yu Hong and her team had fewer people. Moreover, they did not have the system's map prompt. They only managed to collect 3 array flags. But that was not an easy task. As for the Earth Immortal group, perhaps because they only had 1 array flag left, they met a lot of people. Half of the people who had not been eliminated in the mystic realm were gathered here. And after almost an hour of fighting, even the girls in the body cultivator group were a little tired. They spent a lot of effort to get the last array flag. Junior Sister Chi, this is for you. A female disciple plucked the array flag and handed it to Chi Qingyu. This was the last one. The girls could not help but feel excited. They did not expect things to go so smoothly. They actually managed to secure the top 10 spots in the Earth Immortal group. The finals could be decided by rock, paper, scissors. Chi Qingyu was also a little excited. She reached out to take the array flag. Suddenly a figure flashed by. She felt that her hand was empty. The next moment, the array flag was in the hands of a girl in pink. The newcomer smiled brightly. She looked at the crowd with an innocent tone and said, "Big sisters, you have already collected so many array flags. Why don't you let me have the last one?" Chi Qingyu frowned. She looked warily at the girl in front of her. She did not seem to be a threat at all. None of them had noticed that there was someone else nearby. This person either had a very high cultivation level, or had a special Dharma artifact on her. Fellow immortal, this is a competition. Of course, the array flag belongs to the strongest. Forgive me for not letting you have it. Humph. The girl snorted. How stingy. You already have 9 array flags. Why don't you let me have one? Fellow immortal, you really like to joke. Qingyu laughed coldly. She was angered by the girl's tone. I don't think we know you. Why should we let you have it? My name is Huiling. I am Celestial Emperor Qinji's disciple. Do you know each other now? She said proudly. Everyone's faces darkened. Fengning stepped forward and said, Don't talk nonsense with her. We are here for the competition, not to curry favor with some celestial emperor. Since she dared to snatch the array flag, let's see if she has the ability to leave. With that said, he summoned his immortal sword and attacked. The other girls did not hesitate any longer. They all rushed forward. Chapter 173. Huiling was a little angry. She didn't expect that these people would not give her any face, even after she used her master's name. They still wanted to snatch the array flags from her hands. They were really a bunch of people who didn't know what was good for them. They were just as annoying as that sect leader surnamed Shun. You don't want to listen to my kind words. I want to see how capable you are. As she spoke, she flipped her hand, and a long red ribbon instantly appeared in her hand. It was actually a supreme-grade celestial artifact. Immortal chi overflowed from it, and there were many traces of array formations engraved on it. With a gentle wave, the red silk instantly wrapped around Fengying's sword, and he was flung away. Even the immortal sword in his hand was shattered into pieces. Fengying, shocked, Qingyu hurriedly flew over to catch him. Huiling harumphed coldly. Her face was full of confidence as she said with a hint of disdain, Humph! How dare you fight me with your cultivation? Before she could finish speaking, she heard the sound of something piercing through the air beside her. She subconsciously turned around and felt something brush past her. The next moment there was a loud bang. The ground beneath her split open in an instant, and a deep crack immediately appeared on it. Huiling retreated a few steps and finally saw it. He was surrounded by 8 muscular girls, and the crack just now was caused by one of them with a single punch. Even the sleeve of her Taoist robe was cut in half. Her expression changed, and she looked at the crowd with some fear. Why did they suddenly change their appearances? What kind of evil technique are you using? Even the supreme-grade Dharma robe that her master had given her could not block it. If fellow immortal doesn't hand over the array flag, then we can only send you out. Everyone ignored her question and directly rushed forward. Huiling panicked a little. She flew up and dodged their fists. She activated the immortal chi in her body, and the red ribbon in her hand grew bigger. It was as if it had come to life, and it wrapped around the crowd. Be careful, there's 1,000 lightning formation on that silk. Fengning warned loudly. But it was too late. The 8 girls who rushed over were already entangled by the red silk. Huiling sneered. Humph. It's a shame that you've become so ugly, but you're still not as weak as before. With a twist of her hand, thousands of lightning bolts instantly appeared on the red silk and shot towards the crowd. Seeing that they couldn't fight back, she smiled even more complacently. I originally only wanted to take 1 array flag, but since you're so rude and unreasonable, then I'll take the rest of the array flags. As soon as she said this, the faces of the people who were entangled with her darkened. Was this woman sick? Everyone. Qingyu panicked. Just as she was about to step forward, a disciple stopped her. Junior Sister Qi, you're not a body cultivator. Don't come over. Qingyu stopped in her tracks, but she had already turned to look at the other person, with a questioning look on her face. Disciple 1. Senior Sister, what should we do? Disciple 2. Senior Sister Hong said that the sect leader instructed us not to casually attack female cultivators. Disciple 3. Unless it's absolutely necessary. Disciple 4. Does it count now? Disciple 5. This is a competition we can't lose. For the glory of the sect, I guess. Disciple 6. Then, Disciple 7. Do it. Disciple 8. Kill her. In an instant, immortal chi exploded from their bodies. With a few crisp tearing sounds, The red silk that was originally tightly bound to her broke into pieces and fell to the ground. On the spectator stand, 3 pairs of suspicious eyes turned to Xining. You said it before. Ah, did you? The situation in the water mirror had been reversed. Hui Ling, who had been confident of victory, stared in disbelief at the completely destroyed immortal artifact in her hand. How could this be? This was a supreme-grade immortal artifact. Even a golden immortal would not be able to do this, much less an earth immortal. Before she could react, she felt her hand tighten. The person closest to her suddenly picked up the half of the red silk on the ground and pulled hard. Hui Ling did not have time to let go. Her whole body was pulled toward the opposite side. In the next moment, a fist was swinging toward her face. Only then did Hui Ling know that she was afraid. Her face was pale and she panicked. She screamed, "Ah!" However, with a loud bang, the defensive Dharma artifact on her body was activated. The fist stopped less than 3 fingers away from her face, barely blocking the punch. But because of this, cracks appeared in front of her like a spider web. This was a sign that the array formation was about to collapse. The other party's next punch was about to land. This time, it was really going to land on her. Hui Ling panicked even more. There was no longer any trace of innocence on her face. There was only extreme fear. As she screamed, she waved her hands wildly, trying to escape. She forgot all her cultivation techniques and immortal arts. But no matter how hard she tried, she could not shake off the other party's hand. No, help. Help me. The disciple did not intend to hurt her. With a twist of his hand, he reached for the array flag on her waist. But Hui Ling's body suddenly emitted a beam of white light that spread outward. That disciple only felt a huge pressure sweeping towards her. Her heart skipped a beat, and she was directly sent flying. Even the other disciples standing at the side were swept by the white light, and fell to the ground, coughing up blood. Xining, who was chewing on a fruit, suddenly stopped and turned to look at the water mirror. What's going on? Lone Moon was also stunned. He stared at the scene in the water mirror. What was that light? Maybe it's some special Dharma artifact? Sun Shu guessed. It was normal for the Celestial Emperor's disciple to have 1 or 2 life-saving Dharma artifacts. Lone Moon frowned. Shit, they brought so many Dharma artifacts. Was this a competition? It was obviously a competition. If he had known, he would have given them more Dharma artifacts last night. The scene in the water mirror changed again. All the Invincible Sect disciples had fallen, and seemed to be injured. Coincidentally, the competition ended at this moment. All the participating disciples were teleported out of the mystic realm. Master. I Ching turned to look at Xining. Yes, I saw it. The preliminary round of the competition ended in one morning. The top 10 of each group had been decided. The Mo Xian group and the Mystic Immortal group were evenly matched. Almost every country had 1 or 2 disciples. As for the Earth Immortal and Golden Immortal groups, it was hard to describe. The Golden Immortal group was still alright. 4 of them were from Invincible Sect, almost half of them. That's right. In the last few minutes, Yu Hong and the others managed to snatch another array flag. The Earth Immortal group was even more impressive. Apart from Hui Ling, everyone else was from Invincible Sect. It was a massacre. When the name list came out, the country emperors finally realized that those body cultivators were from Invincible Sect. Invincible Sect was indeed a perverted sect. Even their disciples were so perverted. Lone Moon expressed his regret. Sigh, 2 of us still failed to make it. The country emperors. He had only brought 15 people in total. 13 of them had already made it. What more could he want? Convex. Not long after the preliminary round ended, the finals began. This was no different from the competition in the lower realm. It was a 2-on-1 battle. Chen Ge gave some instructions to the Immortal Palace beside him, and kept the water mirror in front of him. In less than a minute, the 4 Mystic Realm stone doors below the spectator stand disappeared. 4 wide platforms appeared, each of them lit up with an isolation array formation. The finals were also carried out by the 4 groups at the same time. Compared to the preliminary round, the finals were much simpler. At most, 2 battles were needed to determine the top 3. Lone Moon had been watching the Earth Immortal group. The more he watched, the darker his expression became. This was because Hui Ling seemed to have become a different person, compared to the panic she had when she snatched the array flags in the mystic realm. After 2 battles, all the body cultivators in the sect were defeated by her at the last moment. He had confidence in the disciples of the sect. Even golden immortals might not be their match, much less earth immortals. But things were just so amazing. Hui Ling was an earth immortal. Although it was obvious that she was struggling at the start, she could always turn the tables at the last moment and suppress the body cultivators. And she won all the way to the end. It was as if their performance in the mystic realm was just an illusion. She actually has such strength. Was she deliberately hiding her strength before? Because the opponent is not her. I Ching suddenly said, "What? What did he mean?" Chapter 174. Lone Moon was about to ask for more details, but the country emperors had already stood up to congratulate him. As expected of the sovereign emperor's disciple, his cultivation is indeed extraordinary. It's true that a great teacher produces a great disciple. His Majesty really has a good eye for talent. No wonder he brought her up to the upper realm himself. That's right, Emperor. Why can't we find a disciple with such aptitude? Emperors, you're too kind. Chun Gu smiled in response. My disciple is just a little more diligent. He was a little puzzled. Given Hui Ling's cultivation, she shouldn't be able to fight against a physical cultivator. Why did she? But she was his disciple after all, so he didn't think too much about it. The competition for the other groups had also ended. The country emperors boasted for a while before Chun Gu announced the end of the competition. With a wave of his hand, the 4 platforms below merged into one and slowly rose up. Above them stood the top 3 winners of each group. Siyu was first in the Golden Immortal group. However, perhaps because she understood the situation in the Earth Immortal group, there was no joy on her face. Especially the 2 disciples who lost to Hui Ling. They kept their heads down throughout the match. Lone Moon couldn't help but feel some anger rising in his heart. He found the green tea bitch to be even more of an eyesore. I Ching was especially sensitive to immortal chi. The people on the stage could not tell, but he could. If he said that Hui Ling's battle was problematic, then there must be. He just didn't know what the problem was. After praising them, Chun Gu then began to hand out the rewards. Most of them were immortal artifacts, immortal pills and the likes. The top 10 of each group received one. After all, he was a sovereign emperor. He did not even blink when he took out dozens of magic tools at once. As for the champion of each group, he or she would be able to choose a supreme-grade immortal artifact that suited him or her. It was equivalent to custom-made. Lone Moon was still thinking about Hui Ling's competition. He had no interest in such an award ceremony. Immortal artifacts and whatnot were all custom-made from Sun Shu. Master. When it was Hui Ling's turn, she did not say what she wanted. Instead, she took a step forward and asked, "Can I not take the immortal artifact?" Chun Gu chuckled. He seemed to be used to his disciple's carefree personality as he said in a doting manner, "Oh, I don't want an immortal artifact." His disciple naturally did not lack such an immortal artifact. Disciple knows that my cultivation is shallow, but I am wholeheartedly pursuing the Tao. Participating in the tournament this time was just to test his limits and temper himself a little. I didn't expect. Hui Ling glanced at unrivaled enemy with a hint of provocation in her eyes. I didn't expect to win the championship by accident. So, disciple doesn't ask for anything else. I just want to accumulate more battle experience. Chun Gu nodded. What do you want then? Disciple wants. Her tone changed, and she suddenly looked at Shening who was sitting on the spectator stand. She said loudly, Disciple wants to request for a battle with the invincible sect master. What? As soon as these words came out, the whole place fell silent. The others were shocked, but the people of invincible sect were. Ha 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 ha. A sudden burst of laughter rang out. Before the people from invincible sect could react, Sun Shu was already pounding the table and laughing maniacally. He was laughing so hard that he was almost lying flat on the table. Everyone's attention was drawn to him. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. Sun Shu tried to hold it in for a long time before he looked at Chen Ge and said, Celestial Emperor, your disciple is really. Ha 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 ha. Forgive him for not being able to hold it in. It was too funny. Lone Moon and I Ching were stunned too. They had lived for so many years, but they had never seen such a suicidal request before. She actually wanted to fight Shining? Who gave her the courage? Was it Liang Jingru? Instantly, they looked at Hui Ling with a complicated expression. Could this person be mentally retarded? Actually, if they thought about it carefully, they could understand why she would make such a request. She must have lost face in the main hall yesterday and wanted to take advantage of winning the tournament to regain it. She thought that since she could win even a body cultivator, Shining, who was also an earth immortal, could do the same. Lone Moon really felt that she was a little naive. Chen Ge naturally knew what his disciple was planning. His face darkened and he scolded. Little Ling, don't be rude. Sect Master Shun is the sect master of a sect. By right, she should be your elder. How can she fight with a junior like you? Master, doesn't the immortal realm respect power? Why can't she fight with a junior just because she's the sect master? Hui Ling was not convinced. Not only did she not take back her words, she even said righteously, What's more, it's just a battle. Just take it as the sect master giving me some pointers. Unless she's afraid of losing. How dare you? Chen Ji's voice was low. Master. Hui Ling looked aggrieved. Why did he keep helping that Shining? Chen Ge felt a headache coming on. He wanted to be on good terms with Invincible Sect, but Little Ling's personality had always been jumpy. It was not strange for her to say something like that. He felt a little awkward, but in his heart, he really wanted to see Shen Ying's strength. It's my disciple's fault. I hope you can forgive her. Celestial Emperor, you're too serious. Lone Moon's eyes flashed. Your disciple is right. It's normal for cultivators to fight with each other. What's more, she won the championship this time. Celestial Emperor should be happy that she's so motivated. But Chen Ge could not figure out what he meant. She's a junior after all. Celestial Emperor is right. Lone Moon nodded. It would be bad if she gets hurt. I'm not afraid. Hui Ling suddenly shouted. Please teach me, Sect Master Shen. No matter what happens to me, Hui Ling will not complain. Since that's the case, all right. Lone Moon sighed, but his eyes narrowed into slits. He turned to Shining and said, Go Shining. There's no need to save me face. Beat her. Shining. Why did she feel that he was even more excited than she was? Old fox. Sun Shu cursed softly and rolled his eyes. Shining had already planned to fight from the start, but she still went around in circles and pretended that she had no choice. Sect Master Shen, please. Hui Ling turned and walked toward the platform behind her, her face full of confidence. Now that things had come to this, Chen Ge could not say anything more. He turned back and sat down. All the emperors around them looked excited. They already had a grudge against I Ching. Now that someone was standing up for them, and it was the Celestial Emperor's disciple, they were naturally happy to watch the show. It was their fault for choosing such a sect master. Everyone looked like they were waiting to see Invincible Sect make a fool of themselves. Apart from Sun Shu and the people of Invincible Sect, they all had the same expression. They all looked like they were looking at a retard. Shining, go. Lone Moon hurried her and snatched the fruit from her hand. Alright, stop eating. It's time to go. Shining then stood up and walked slowly toward the center of the arena. Sigh, so troublesome. She walked leisurely, and after a while, she walked to the center of the field. The defensive array formation around her lit up again, isolating everyone outside. Hui Ling looked at the lazy person opposite her and laughed coldly. She said confidently, Sect Master Shen, please forgive me if I offend you later. Don't worry, I know my limits. I won't hurt you too badly. She deliberately emphasized the last three words, as if she could see the other party kneeling down and begging for mercy. Shining tilted her head. She still looked lazy, but her gaze was fixed on Hui Ling's neck. Are you sure you can win? Of course. She smiled even more proudly. Didn't all the body cultivators under your sect lose to me? Oh. She paused. Suddenly her figure flashed. Is it because of this? Before Hui Ling could react, she felt a chill on her neck. In the next moment, A familiar white necklace was already in the other party's hand. She did not even know how it happened. She subconsciously touched her chest. Indeed, it was gone. You. Her face instantly turned pale, and a huge panic surged from the bottom of her heart. That was her most important trump card. Why? Why did she know about it? Give it back to me. She turned around and pounced at him, wanting to take it back. Wait, you. A voice came from the necklace. Shen Ying's hand tightened. She heard a cracking sound. No. Hui Ling cried out. It was too late. The necklace was crushed into pieces. It's gone now, Shen Ying said word by word. Hui Ling was stunned. She stared at her palm in disbelief. She actually. She looked up at Shen Ying, her eyes burning. You, I'll kill you. She seemed to have lost her mind. She summoned several immortal swords and rushed toward Shen Ying without a care in the world. Shen Ying did not move. Seeing that the sword in Hui Ling's hand was about to stab her, she took a step to the side and stuck out a leg. There was a loud thud. The person who had been so aggressive just a moment ago stumbled and fell to the ground. She even landed face first, causing a cloud of dust to rise. One look, and one could tell that she was in pain. I say, sister. Shen Ying squatted down and patted Hui Ling's shoulder. She said earnestly, it's not right to cheat. Hui Ling was shocked. Her face turned green. A horrifying thought flashed through her mind. She knew it. How could this be? Even Master could not tell. That was clearly. You're talking nonsense. She subconsciously wanted to get up, but she found that the hand on her body was so heavy that she could not get up no matter how hard she tried. How could this be? She could only turn to look at Shen Ying. She was instantly frightened by the look in Shen Ying's eyes. Suddenly, it was as if something terrible was covering the sky and covering the earth. She could not even breathe. The low voice sounded like it came from hell. You'll be beaten if you cheat. On the spectator stand. Shen Ying, what are you doing? Lone Moon asked. Because there was an array outside. The people outside could not hear what was going on inside at all. Beat her up. Why were they still chatting? There's something wrong with that necklace. I Ching directly sent a voice transmission. What? During the Earth Immortal competition just now, the necklace would emit a special immortal chi at the end to help her defeat her opponent. That immortal chi did not belong to her. Lone Moon was stunned. Shit. That little bitch really cheated. No wonder Shen Ying crushed her opponent's necklace the moment she got off the stage. So it was because of this. But who did that immortal chi belong to? He subconsciously suspected Chen Ge. But after thinking about it carefully, he felt that it was impossible. As an Celestial Emperor, he would not side with his own disciple in front of everyone. There was also no need. As an Celestial Emperor, even if his disciple lost, who would dare to say a word to him? Moreover, during the battle just now, he had been sitting here the entire time. There was no chance at all to use immortal spells to help at all. From the looks of it, apart from I Ching, who had always been sensitive to auras, and Shen Ying that cheat, no one seemed to have noticed anything wrong. Who could do such a thing under the eyes of all the country emperors and celestial emperors? And what was that necklace? Just as he was thinking, the ground suddenly shook. A white light fell from the sky directly towards the platform below, bringing with it a huge amount of immortal chi and sword chi. Little Ling. Chen Ge was shocked. Master. I Ching also stood up. Two figures rushed onto the platform at the same time. The moment that white light fell, they picked up the person in the arena and flew out. In the next moment, there was a loud bang. The entire platform was instantly smashed into pieces. Even the surrounding array was instantly smashed into pieces. Little Ling, are you all right? Chen Ge looked at Hui Ling, who was in his arms, with some trepidation. If he had not arrived in time, he was afraid, Master. Hui Ling's face was pale. Subconsciously, she looked in Shen Ying's direction, then immediately looked away. Trembling, she shrunk further into Chen Ji's arms. She was not afraid of the white light that suddenly fell, but of Sect Master Shen just now. Her heart could not help but clench. It must be an illusion. How could that Earth Immortal have such a terrifying aura? Master, are you all right? I Ching asked anxiously. Shen Ying, who was being dragged over air. What could happen to her? Lone Moon rolled his eyes. Worry for nothing. I Ching was stunned. Then he reacted. When he saw Chen Ge rushing in to save Hui Ling, he subconsciously thought that Master was also inside, and went in without thinking. He did not even think about whether Hui Ling needed his help at all. Thank you. Shen Ying could not help but comfort the slightly dispirited chef. She pointed to the flying dust in front of them and said, "At least you didn't have to breathe in 2 mouthfuls of dust." I Ching. He was not comforted at all. What was going on? Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, a male voice came from within the white light. Following a gust of wind, a figure dressed in blue appeared in midair. His hair was tied up in a bun, and his red lips were slightly pursed, looking like he was smiling. He held a jade-bone fan in his hand. He did not open it, but instead spun it gently in his hand. Floating in the air, he looked down at the person sitting on the main seat with contempt. Chen Ge, why didn't you inform me of your mystic spirits and spirits meeting? I could have come and joined in the fun. Chen Ge frowned immediately. Clenching his fists, he looked at the person in the air and called out, "Chu Xian." Hearing this name, everyone was shocked. They all looked up at the person in the air. Who? Only the people from Invincible Sect looked confused. Celestial Emperor Chu Xian of the Hechuan continent, Sun Shu explained softly. Sun Shu explained softly. He turned to look at Chen Ge, and immediately switched to a voice transmission. He was also the one who fought against Emperor Chen Ge 10,000 years ago. Most importantly, Emperor Chen Ge lost. Oh, only then did Lone Moon understand. He recalled that Chen Ge, who looked like a child, had said that a demonic seed had been planted in him when he was seriously injured. So the person who injured him was this person. This person was obviously here to cause trouble. I see that the immortals of Fengsong are quite diligent in their cultivation. Chu Xian scanned the crowd. Why do you still have time for the mystic spirits and spirits meeting? Why don't you spar with me from Hechuan? Let's see if the immortals of Fengsong are really stronger than those from other continents. Celestial Emperor Chu Xian. Chen Ge stepped forward and said, "The mystic spirits and spirits meeting is just an ordinary spar for immortals of Fengsong. We have no intention of competing with other continents." An ordinary spar? Chu Xian laughed mirthlessly and scanned the few people on the spectator stand. I don't think these people are ordinary immortals from Fengsong. Let me guess, are they from Yishui or Changnua continent? Chen Ge did not reply. The other continents had indeed sent people over, but they were all celestial emperors whom he was familiar with. They had only sent people to congratulate him on his coming out of seclusion. Why, the other continents can come, but the Hechuan can't. Chu Xian snorted and changed the topic. Or, they are just like you, afraid of losing to the Hechuan. Chen Ji's expression darkened. The celestial emperor could not hold it in any longer. He shouted angrily, "Nonsense. So what if you are the emperor of Hechuan? You think Fengsong is afraid of you?" Before he could finish speaking, Chu Xian's immortal aura swept over him. The celestial emperor, who had just spoken, fell to his knees. Chu Xian. Chen Ge released his immortal qi to protect the celestial emperor. He said angrily, "I said, the matter regarding celestial emperor Lan Hua has nothing to do with me. It's been so long. Why do you have to make things difficult for me and vent your anger on others?" "Shut up." Chu Xian exploded like a firecracker. "You have no right to mention his name." His eyes were filled with anger. He looked like he was going to rush out and stab Chen Ge a few times. "Lan Hua. Oh, looks like it has something to do with Boss Lan?" Lone Moon narrowed his eyes. "I don't want to talk about these past matters with you today." Chu Xian took a few deep breaths to suppress his anger. "Haven't you already chosen the top 3? How about this? I'll also send out 3 people from each cultivation level to compete with you?" Chen Ge frowned. A moment later he replied, "Since Celestial Emperor Chu Xian is so interested, Fengsong will accompany you to the end. All right, let's meet at the Shumi realm tomorrow afternoon." With that he waved his hand. A strong wind blew, and he disappeared into thin air. Chen Ge sighed and turned to face the crowd. In a low voice he said, "Everyone has seen it. It looks like we'll have to keep you and your disciples in heavens beyond heaven for a while longer." The celestial emperors immediately expressed their willingness to fight for the Feng Song continent. Shen Ying and the other two were excited. They were so excited that they wanted to go back and hear what Boss Lan and Chu Xian had to say. Chapter 175. After returning to the floating peak where they were resting, Lone Moon pulled Shen Ying and I Ching into the house. His expression was more serious than ever. About that green. Hui Ling, what do you think? Huh? Shen Ying faltered. What do you think? Don't you think it's strange? Lone Moon said in a low voice. She's Chen Ji's disciple, and she came from the lower realm. Chen Ji's pampering of her is obviously different from ordinary disciples. Who would pamper a disciple that way? You mean? Shen Ying blinked and said seriously. There's something going on between the two of them. Lone Moon. I Ching. Although his words were a little rough, but that was what he meant. Don't you think her setting is a little familiar? Lone Moon said anxiously. This is obviously the setting of the original female lead, right? Now that he said it, it did look a little similar. Isn't Xian Tong still in the sect? I Ching frowned. Yes, that's why I think it's strange. Lone Moon explained in a low voice. Xian Tong should be the female lead. This Hui Ling didn't even appear in the original novel. And I've heard that this person was brought back to the heavens beyond heaven by Chen Ge 4 years ago. Shen Ying also brought Xian Tong back at that time. And this Hui Ling's personality is different from the original female lead. Whether it's taking in a disciple, or Chen Ji's attitude towards her. It's exactly the same as in the book. It's like the female lead has changed. This made him feel that because of their interference, the plot had gone wrong, and something was automatically correcting it. Because the female lead disappeared, there was a change in the female lead? You mean, Hui Ling replaced Xian Tong's identity? I Ching said. But Xian Tong was formed by a mental demon. Chen Ge couldn't possibly not recognize his own clone, right? I mean, I'm not saying that Chen Ge recognized the wrong person. It's possible that she's just replacing Xian Tong's character in that novel. The character who was possessed by Conan was unlucky. The more Lone Moon thought about it, the more likely it seemed. He nudged the person beside him. What do you think? Say something. I think. Shen Ying still had that lazy look on her face. That salted fish. Since you didn't have the chance to fall for Shorty, it's normal for you to fall for someone else. They couldn't let him stay single forever. Even if he found a prostitute, it's not strange. Don't be prejudiced against her. You just wanted to call me a little b*tch, right? Who's the biased one here? Lone Moon frowned. You mean to say that there was no plot error correction at all? Could it be that he was thinking too much? Yes. Shen Ying nodded. After some thought she added, since the lower realm. She had never stopped. I Ching. Lone Moon. F*ck. What do you mean? Can't you say it all in one breath? Don't pant. It's Chef. She pointed at I Ching beside her. The two of them were dumbfounded. A moment later, Lone Moon thought of something. You mean to say from him onwards the plot started to correct itself? Yes. They thought about it carefully. The only two characters who appeared in the Azure world were I Ching and Bai Zai. I Ching was the last sword immortal to appear in the original novel. When he was in the lower realm, he was an itinerant cultivator. It must have been difficult for him to ascend. But because of Shen Ying, he had a few epiphanies, and his cultivation level increased very quickly. He was even on the verge of ascending. But at that time, the Azure world was still under the control of the Qing Tong immortal abode. If he wanted to ascend, there would have been a huge battle with them in the original novel. It would have been a long process. As for Bai Zai, previously, Bitao said that because he sensed traces of the divine race in the Azure world, he delayed the destruction of the world. This divine race must have been Bai Zai. Bai Zai was sent back to the divine world by Shen Ying. That was why they started to destroy the world. In that case, according to the setting that was not mentioned in the book, it was very likely that Bai Zai and I Ching worked together to destroy the Qing Tong immortal abode's plot, and then ascended to the upper realm. In other words, the plot was brought forward from the beginning. After ascending, I Ching would be Shen Ying's disciple. Before he finished his apprenticeship, he would not accept other disciples. In that case, the relationship between him and the male lead, Ningxian, would be severed. A male lead without ability could not be called a male lead. But they still met Ningxian. Not only did they get rid of the sword qi in his body, but they also helped him get rid of his mental demons, allowing him to become the celestial emperor he once was. Naturally, there was no need for him to be I Ching's disciple anymore. All of this seemed like a coincidence, but if one thought about it carefully, it did seem like they had been correcting the plot. Because of his epiphanies, I Ching ascended earlier than the plot. That was why the male lead also appeared earlier. Because I Ching did not accept the male lead as his disciple, the male lead regained his cultivation level and became a peak celestial emperor. Because Shening took away the original female lead, Huiling came out and became the new female lead. Everything was clearly different from the plot. But after going around in circles, it seemed like they were back in the plot. It was as if there was a pair of invisible hands, silently manipulating everything without anyone noticing. It was like patching up a piece. Whenever a piece was missing, another piece would be added. It was as if they were trying to complete the plot. Loman's heart sank. He looked at Shening beside him and asked, "When exactly did you realize this?" He was clearly the most familiar with the plot, but he did not notice it at all. Shening thought about it and said, "When the gate to the demon realm closed." That gate, wasn't it closed by the demons? Lomun was shocked. He had always thought that the people inside were afraid of being beaten up. That was why they decided to go all out and block the gate. Now that he thought about it, the demon realm was the last instance for the male lead and the female lead. Naturally, they could not start at the beginning. So, it was also because of the plot that the gate was closed. Was the plot really that powerful? Could it be that this is really just the world of a novel? Or was this world following the plot of that novel? Then who was the person manipulating the plot? Was it the author? The more Lomun thought about it, the more confused he became. He decided not to think about it anymore. Who cares? Anyway, this had nothing to do with them anymore. He could not be bothered to see the male lead and the female lead quarreling everywhere. It was fine as long as they did not provoke them. But has Huiling really become the new female lead? If the female lead had really been replaced, it would be a good thing for them. After all, Xiantong was now a member of Invincible Sect. Shening thought about it and suddenly asked, "Father Niu, what's the next plot in that novel?" "What next plot?" Lomun paused. Then he understood. That's right. If he wanted to know whether Huiling was the substitute female lead, he just had to see if she was following the plot. The first thing that happened to the female lead after she became his disciple was, someone took her away? He vaguely remembered a scene where the male lead saved the damsel in distress. Who took her away? I forgot. It happened so long ago. I can't remember it clearly. I think it was the male lead's nemesis or something. Chu Xian. I Ching suddenly spoke. Lomun paused. Holy shit, that was really possible. That meant that the next plot would start tomorrow. Little Missy, we're back. Just as she was thinking about it, Radish suddenly kicked open the door and pounced towards Shun Ying like a human-shaped cannonball. Just as it was about to jump into Shun Ying's arms, I Ching, who was beside her, reacted quickly. He grabbed Radish's collar, lifted it up and threw it away. Get lost, little bastard. Humph. Radish turned and glared at him, but did not dare to resist. It could only look at Shun Ying pitifully. Little Missy, Radish misses you so much. Chapter 176. Where did you go? Lomun glanced at Radish. It was rare to see it in human form. We went to the nearby Immortal Palace for a walk. Before Radish could reply, Lan Hua, who followed closely behind, said, You came back quite early today. You finished the competition so quickly? Lomun glanced at the two of them. They had been in the heavens beyond heaven for a few days. At first, Lan Hua was still a little wary. Later, when he realized that no one could tell that he was a demon, he completely let himself go. Taking advantage of the time when all the disciples were out competing, the two children who stayed behind quickly formed an alliance. They began to wander around aimlessly, and developed some revolutionary friendships as a result. Oh yes, little missy. Radish thought of something and mysteriously took out a storage bag. It handed it over with a proud look. I brought a lot of gifts for you. Everyone. Did you freaking go on a vacation? Shinning obviously did not trust this vegetable, and did not take it. Lone Moon directly intercepted it. What's this? Meat. Radish looked proud. I caught it for a long time. Lone Moon subconsciously opened it. What meat? Before he could finish, he heard a swoosh. A gust of wind blew past him, and something black and white hit his face. Lone Moon. I Ching. What the hell is this meat? This is obviously an immortal crane, right? And it's the kind that freaking delivers letters. Is that a communication talisman on its claw? Lone Moon felt his heart skip a beat. He had a bad feeling about this. He immediately stopped the immortal crane that was hitting his face with its wings. He opened the storage bag again, and took out one fat and big immortal crane after another. Did you freaking catch all the immortal cranes in the heavens beyond heaven? Lone Moon took a deep breath, and suppressed the urge to stew a certain someone. He could already vaguely see the immortals who were sending messages, looking for their own immortal cranes. This is the gift you brought. He gritted his teeth. Yes. Radish did not feel guilty at all for grabbing someone else's communication tool. It said proudly, especially picked the fat ones. Little missy, look, this one is even fatter than Radish. It must be delicious. As he spoke, he grabbed a red-crowned crane that was struggling desperately. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He turned to glare at his accomplice. Lan Hua immediately raised both his hands. It's not my fault. He was the one who wanted to arrest him. He couldn't stop him anyway. What the F***ck? Lone Moon felt as if something had snapped in his head. He could not hold it in anymore. He picked up Radish and strode out. She shoved him into the huge flower pot in the courtyard. What do you want? Let me go. Before Radish could react, Lone Moon had already covered its head with mud. It struggled with all its might. You ugly thing. Don't you dare sully my pure body? Wait, I don't want to change back. I want to go out and meet some pretty ladies. You. GGGG. Before he could finish, Lone Moon conjured a seal and forced him back to his original form. He covered his head with 3 layers of dirt, and stomped on it a few times, before he could suppress the surging anger in his heart. What the F***ck, all of them, only knew how to cause trouble for him. Shening, let go of that red-crowned crane. It's someone else's pet. It can't be eaten, no matter how fat it is. With that said, he turned and shouted towards the outside of the house. You Hong, bring a few disciples in and let all of them fly. As for the injured ones, let them go after they've been treated. And, Shening, take out the one you're hiding behind your back. I don't have it. What the F***ck? Even its wings are showing. Do you think I'm blind? Che. Wait. What are you doing? You can't even exchange spirit beast meat. Do you think this is a market? Try hiding another one? Do you believe I won't deduct your food allowance? An hour later, Chu Xian? Lan Hua paused. He frowned and thought hard for a long time. Who? You don't know him. Lone Moon was shocked. No way. I don't. Lan Hua shook his head. Then why does he look like he wants to stand up for you? And it seemed like he was causing trouble for Chen Gu because of him. How would I know? Lan Hua shook his head. He glanced at Shening, who had not eaten the immortal crane, and was looking very upset. He could not help but take out a few immortal fruits, and place them in front of her. I have a grudge with all 10 celestial emperors. If the celestial emperors have not changed in the past few thousand years, he should be one of the people who attacked me when I fell into depravity. That was strange. Chu Xian's earlier reaction did not seem like he was acting. What exactly happened in between? It seemed like they would have to wait until the Meru Realm competition tomorrow to find out the truth. And whether Hui Ling would replace Xian Tong as the female lead would depend on her performance tomorrow. The Meru Realm was a deserted ancient palace in the heavens beyond heaven. Legend had it that there was only one celestial emperor in the entire immortal realm. He managed the 4 seas and 6 continents. The Meru Realm was the only palace in the immortal realm. But as time passed, The palace had lost its former glory. Now it was just a pile of rubble. Although the competition this time was only for the top 3 in each cultivation level, it was still a competition between 2 continents. Besides the various emperors who brought their participating disciples, there were also some curious immortals who came to watch the competition. The Meru realm, which had been deserted, suddenly became very lively. In order to understand Chu Xian's situation, Lone Moon asked Lan Hua to come as well, just in case he came with Feng Ying. The other disciples who came to watch the competition did not follow them. Apart from the 5 participants, the others stayed in the Immortal Palace to rest, mainly to keep a close eye on Radish. They had obviously arrived early. There was no sign of Chu Xian, but in the middle of the palace, above the largest pile of rubble, there was a large platform floating in the air. One look and they could tell that this was the competition arena that had been prepared. Chen Ge led the group to a platform on the right. His expression was much more serious than before. Hui Ling followed beside him. Her expression did not look very good. She no longer looked as lively and arrogant as before. Anyway, from time to time, a hint of panic flashed across her face, and she did not look in Xin Ying's direction again. Of course, Lone Moon knew why she was like this. It was because Xin Ying had destroyed her golden finger. What's more, she was the champion of the Earth Immortal group this time. This was not a friendly competition between people from the same continent. The other party would not give face to Chen Ge. Naturally, they would not go easy on her. He instantly felt refreshed. Sure enough, he had to pay for what he had done. Hui Ling's expression became more and more anxious as the time of the competition drew closer. She finally tugged at Chen Ji's sleeve and said softly, "Master, I don't feel well." "Linger, what's wrong?" Chen Ji's face was full of worry. "Were you injured in the mystic realm yesterday?" "No, master, I just want to." She spoke very softly, so the people around her did not notice. Except for Lone Moon, who had been paying attention to her movements. His eyes instantly lit up. And before the other party could request to withdraw from the competition, he immediately spoke up with a radiant smile on his face. "Celestial Emperor, is your disciple unwell? I just happen to have primordial rejuvenation pills, spirit concentration, dew and exorcism talismans. No matter what kind of illness you have, they will be effective immediately. Celestial Emperor, do you need them?" Hui Ling. Chen Ge. Chapter 177. No, there's no need. Chen Ge paused, puzzled by Lone Moon's sudden kindness. He smiled politely and said, "Exalted Immortal Lone Moon, you must be joking. Little Ling's cultivation level is low, but she is already an immortal. She won't get sick easily. I'm sure she's just a little nervous, because it's her first time competing with immortals from other continents." He turned to look at Hui Ling, and gave her a reassuring look. Hui Ling did not react. Instead, her face turned even paler, and her eyes were filled with panic. She looked like she wanted to say something, but was hesitant. This was the first time Chen Ge had seen her so uneasy. He couldn't help but add, "Ling just treat this as a normal competition. Just perform at your usual level. I have confidence in you, so don't feel too pressured." "Yes, master." Her face turned even paler. She could not bring herself to withdraw. "Your Majesty is right," Lone Moon said with a smile. Lone Moon's eyes narrowed into slits as he smiled. He glanced at Hui Ling, then turned to his disciple and said, "Did you hear that? Just perform at your usual level. I have confidence in you too." The 5 disciples behind him answered in unison, "Yes, Elder." His voice was loud and clear, instantly suppressing the hesitation in Hui Ling's voice. Hui Ling's face turned even paler. Even Chen Ge frowned. Was he imagining things? Why did his words sound so sarcastic? Just as he was about to ask for more details, another beam of white light appeared. The people from the Hechuan continent had arrived. Because there was a wide platform between them, they could see clearly this time. Under the white light, a huge transportation array lit up. In a short while, more than 10 figures appeared. Leading them was Chu Xian. He glanced at them and laughed coldly. "Chen Ge, I thought you would be like the previous few times and not dare to come. You're quite early this time." Chen Gu ignored his provocation. He maintained his gentlemanly demeanor and said in a low voice, Emperor Chu Xian invited me in the name of He Chuan. How can I not come? Oh, you seem very confident. Chu Xian's face was full of disgust. He did not seem to want to talk to him anymore. He said directly, In that case, let me see how powerful Feng Song is. With that, he waved his hand, and 3 people flew out from behind him and landed on the platform in front of him. All 3 of them were Stygian immortals. It's too troublesome to fight one by one. It's better to fight them all at the same level together, Kuan Xian said. Chen Gu had no objections. He nodded at the top 3 Stygian immortals, and the 3 of them flew to the center of the platform. Lone Moon looked down at the 6 people who were already fighting. He thought about it carefully, and guessed why the other party wanted 3 people to fight together. Although the 3 Stygian immortals from He Chuan didn't seem to be as strong as the 3 Stygian immortals on this side. However, it was obvious that they had been working together for a long time, and the 3 Stygian immortals here were all chosen from various countries. They had probably never fought together before, so their group strength was naturally much weaker. As expected, in just a short while, the 3 Stygian immortals were defeated one by one. It could be said to be a crushing defeat. All 3 of them were kicked off the stage. At that moment, all the country emperors and Qinji's expressions changed. It was the same for the Mystic Immortal group. This time, it ended even faster. The Stygian immortals managed to hold on for an hour, but the 3 Mystic Immortals were defeated in less than 15 minutes. Chu Xian looked even more pleased with himself. He seemed to have expected such a result. He looked like he was waiting to humiliate Chen Gu, until the Golden Immortal group went up. In terms of teamwork, the few people from Invincible Sect, who had been cultivating together since they started, were no worse than anyone else. The strongest of the 3 Siyu did not even have to transform. She relied on Yu Hong and another disciple to force the 3 Stygian immortals into a corner. In less than 10 minutes, the 3 Stygian immortals were kicked off the stage. Compared to the immortals who had been defeated in the previous 2 rounds, they looked even more pathetic. Body cultivators. Chu Xian did not seem to have expected such an outcome. He had been so sure that he would win, but now he had lost the upper hand. The people from He Chuan continent could not react in time. They had to be King kidding them. Where did these body cultivators come from? And they were female immortals. What was wrong with them? The people from Feng Song, who were already shocked, did not feel anything at all. They wanted to give them a thumbs up. They were not stupid. From the results of the Stygian Immortal group, they could guess what the other party was planning. They just did not refute it at the start. Later on, they could not bring themselves to say that they wanted to fight one-on-one. Fortunately, they had the Invincible Sex group. No, group cultivators. If they won the next round, they would be able to win 2 out of 4 rounds. Finally, it was time for the Earth Immortal group. Master, I don't want. Hui Ling, who had been suppressing her emotions, was panicking now. She grabbed Qinji's hand. Little Ling Qingu patted her hand. His heart ached for her. He wanted to agree to not let her fight, but he was an Celestial Emperor after all. It would not be right for him to not let his disciple win. His voice softened. Just do your best. Trust me, nothing will go wrong. Hui Ling had never teamed up with anyone before. It was normal for her to be nervous. But judging from the situation in the previous round, this round should be no problem. He subconsciously turned to look in the direction of Invincible Sect. He wanted to say a few words of encouragement, but he realized that Lone Moon was holding the 2 Earth Immortal disciples aside, instructing them about something. He even set up an isolation array. He thought that they might be discussing how to fight the enemy at the last minute, so he did not pay much attention to them. Lone Moon only opened the isolation array when the 3 opponents were already on the stage. He reminded them again. Remember what I said? Yes, Elder. The 2 disciples bowed and flew towards the dueling platform. Seeing this, Hui Ling gritted her teeth and flew up. The moment she stood still, Hui Ling took out her Dharma artifact. It was a red folding fan. With a gentle wave, a dazzling fire shot up into the sky and burned the path in front of them. The Imperial Fire Fan was another supreme-grade immortal artifact. Loman's eyes darkened. She was indeed the disciple of an celestial emperor. How generous! The three opponents did not expect that the other party would have such a powerful immortal artifact. They hurriedly retreated to avoid it. But they were still caught in the fire. One of them even had a corner of his robe burnt. The Imperial Fire Fan was an immortal artifact. The fire it summoned was not ordinary fire. Ordinary water elemental sorcery could not extinguish it. The expressions of the three opponents became even more serious. They had no choice but to retreat. Seeing this, Hui Ling's flustered emotions calmed down in an instant. Her confidence was boosted. She raised her other hand and with a ding sound, she took out another immortal artifact. It was a golden bracelet. The moment it flew out, it split into tens of thousands of bracelets. All of them flew toward the opponents. The opponents, who were already dodging the deviant fire, found it harder and harder to avoid the attacks. Hui Ling laughed softly. She had misunderstood the situation earlier. Although the other party was sent by Celestial Emperor Chu Xian, he was just an ordinary cultivator. He was not like the body cultivators of Invincible Sect. Even without that person's help, the other party might not be her match. Thinking of this, Hui Ling hated Sect Master Shen even more. If not for her, she would not have lost the necklace. She turned and glared at the other two people, who had just entered the arena. The two of them were on the other side, waving their immortal swords, and trying their best to dodge the attacks of the three cultivators. Hui Ling could not help but laugh coldly. So what if they were body cultivators? They came from a small sect. No matter how strong they were, how could they compare to the immortals of the heavens beyond heaven? She would be able to handle the last match by herself. In an instant, her attacks became more and more violent. The entire arena was filled with red deviant fire. Even the two people from Invincible Sect had no choice but to stand in the furthest corner. The three opponents no longer had a place to stand. They could only fly in the air. They also had to defend against the densely packed golden metal rings. Chapter 178. In less than 5 minutes, the other party was about to be forced off the stage. Hui Ling turned her hand and changed her hand seal. Thousands of steel rings gathered in the air and formed a rope that flew towards the other party. Hui Ling heaved a sigh of relief and said confidently, "It's over." That's right. Just as she finished speaking, an unfamiliar male voice rang out from behind her. In the next moment, a sharp sword came slashing towards her. Her heart tightened, but it was too late for her to defend herself. A cold sword was already swinging towards her face. "It's really over." "Ah!" she screamed, but the sword did not hit her. At the critical moment, the defensive array on her Dharma robe was activated and blocked the attack. The attacking immortal took a step back. Hui Ling retreated several steps before she could see that it was one of the three enemies. She did not even know when the other party had sneaked up on her. How was this possible? Hui Ling did not have much battle experience. She panicked when the other party got close to her. She subconsciously held onto her fire-subduing fan and waved it behind her. In an instant, the deviant fire ignited and burned the only safe piece of ground on the flat ground. The other party was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled mockingly. "Idiot." He conjured a seal and set up a defensive barrier to isolate the deviant fire. He was just worrying about how to force her into the deviant fire, but she had trapped herself inside. He immediately shouted, "Activate the array." As soon as he finished speaking, the two people who were still in the air landed on the ground. His hand seal changed. He squatted down and slapped the ground with his palm. The ground, which was originally full of deviant fire, glowed brightly. Rays of light from the array flashed. The pattern of the array appeared on the platform in an instant. The medium that connected the array was the golden iron ring that Hui Ling had just summoned, but was knocked down by the three of them. So the three of them had been setting up the array from the beginning. And this array was 5 elements reversal array. Someone cried out in alarm. In the next moment, all the arrays on the stage lit up. The deviant fire that had been burning earlier was extinguished in an instant. The entire platform was instantly sealed in ice. Sharp ice blades drilled out of the array and flew towards Huiling. Ah! Huiling screamed in pain. Just as she was about to use her fire-subduing fan to summon a mystical flame to burn off the ice, she felt a weight on her hand. Lowering his head, he realized that his entire hand was covered in a thick layer of ice. He couldn't even circulate his immortal energy through it, let alone use the fire-subduing fan. The 5 elements reversal array could reverse all the spells of the 5 elements within the array. The fire-subduing fan could summon the deviant flame, and the spell that appeared in the array was the 10,000-year frost. All fire elements would be frozen. Huiling was in a complete panic. She wanted to rush out, but she was surrounded by ice, and it was getting closer and closer to her. It was as if it was going to freeze her as well. There was nowhere to run. She subconsciously looked at the 2 people, who had also been forced into a corner by the deviant fire, and happened to be outside the array. The duo from Invincible Sect paused for a moment, and at the same time, they recalled a certain elder's instructions before they went on stage. Thus, the disciple took a step forward, opened his arms, and fell to the ground in a very simple and clear manner. At the same time, he said in a clear and serious tone, I fell. Junior sister. The second disciple called out anxiously. Suddenly, he also fell to the ground as if he had seen a ghost. I fell too. Shening. I Ching. Chengge. All the emperors. At that moment, several pairs of eyes turned to look at Lone Moon. Lone Moon. Damn it, I didn't teach you to put on such a fake act. Degree. A strange silence fell over the crowd. The 3 people who were fighting were the first to react. They immediately lost interest in the other 2. One of them waved his hand and pointed at Huiling, who was in the middle, and said, "Get rid of her first." With that said, he gripped the Dharma artifact in his hand and rushed toward Huiling. No. Huiling's face turned pale. Seeing that there was nowhere to hide, she had no choice but to take out the bracelet in her hand again and summon the 10,000 gold steel rings. But it was obvious that she was already frightened. Her attacks were completely out of control. She only cared about summoning more gold steel rings, and did not pay attention to where she was hitting. Not only did she not hit the 3 people, but she also hit the ice pillars around her. The ice pillars were originally summoned by the array set up by her gold steel rings. The aura on them was the same. When the gold steel rings hit them, not only did they not break the ice pillars, but they also bounced back. Huiling did not have time to dodge. In less than a minute, she was not hurt by the 3 people. Instead, she was beaten black and blue by her own ring. The 3 people who were still in the air. They had never seen someone die like this. The 3 people were stunned for a while, but they did not hesitate for long. While Huiling was distracted, they directly rushed down. The array on her Dharma robe was too strong. Sword techniques and immortal spells could not hurt her. The 3 people could only fight with their fists and legs. At that moment, the whole place was filled with the screams of a certain person. All the innocence disappeared. Chun Ji's expression darkened. He clenched his fists by his side and took a deep breath. Only then did he resist the urge to rush up to the stage. The 3 people did not attack for long. Perhaps they saw that Huiling had no more strength to fight back. One of them kicked her off the stage. Little Ling. Chun Ji's figure flashed. He picked up the disciple who had been thrown off the stage and returned to the spectator stand. As he treated Huiling, who had been beaten beyond recognition, he glared at Chu Xian. It was just a competition. How could he be so heavy-handed? He felt some resentment towards the Invincible Sect for deliberately not saving Huiling time. Master? Talisman father. Huiling called out pitifully. If she was still as charming and adorable as before, she would have been able to arouse the sympathy of others. However, at this moment, she was at a loss for words. Apart from the filter, Chengge still looked distressed. Be good. Don't talk. Focus on treating your injuries. Ah, so she's your disciple. Chu Xian could tell that Chengge cared about the person in his arms. He laughed coldly and said mockingly, "That's right. Only you would accept such a useless disciple." You. Chengge was exasperated, but he could not lose his temper. Chu Xian laughed proudly. It looks like this competition is my He Chuan's. Before he could finish speaking, he felt two surges of immortal chi appear on the stage. He looked down. Without Hui Ling, the two disciples who were supposed to be the easiest to deal with, the immortal chi in their bodies surged. Their small bodies grew taller, and their arms bulged with muscles. This was a body cultivator. Holy shit, how could there be more? Chu Xian did not react. The three people on the stage did not react either. Even the immortal who had rushed over to get to know the two of them was stunned. Before he could block his attack, a fist came crashing down on him. He felt a sharp pain in his chest. The next moment he fell to the ground. Blood rushed to his throat, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Junior brother. The two people in the air were shocked. They were about to rush forward to help when they heard the sound of something cutting through the air behind them. The two of them reflexively turned to defend themselves. They saw another body cultivator suddenly appear behind them. He was raising his leg to kick the person on his right. In the nick of time, that person summoned a defensive array. Then there was a loud crack. It shattered. That person was kicked out of the arena. The last person did not even have time to react. A fist came crashing down on him. He felt an irresistible force coming at him. He fell from the air and landed on the stage with a loud crash. He sank a few feet into the ground and fainted. Two body cultivators. The hindrance is gone. I can fight without worry. Oh, it's over. Everyone. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.